Good morning, everyone. I'm telling you, that song gets me going every morning. It's like so nostalgic for me. That song is done by Yona. If you guys want to check him out, Yona is in the comment section right now. So go check out his channel. Give him a follow, a subscribe, like his music. He's re-releasing a lot of his music. I'm telling you, that shit makes me just get so excited in the morning. I love that song so much. Thank you, Yona, for doing that. Oh, I love you so much. Good morning, everyone. Today is so exciting for me. And for us here at KRTD. I am so stoked. I took yesterday off. Mother Nature came. I was just in so much pain yesterday. I was like, I'm just going to take today off, take some ibuprofen, and just try to sleep this day away. And then I woke up this morning and we hit our 1,000 subscribers. I'm so happy. I was like, that's, it's so my luck that would happen on like the day that I take off. Because I remember in junior high, I was playing like basketball, like the team, like town basketball league. And I played every single game except for one. And we lost every single game except for one. And it was the one that I didn't go to. I was like, this is so my luck. Like, we're totally just, winning when I'm not around. So, but I'm so excited. It literally made me tear up this morning. We've been laying low for like almost a year, just trying to figure out where our path is, what we're going to be doing next, who wants to stay, who wants to make some content here. And just I was like, back in like before October, I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it. We're gonna work our little asses off. We're gonna try to get to 1,000 subscribers by January. That was our goal, was January. And I gave myself some time. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to test myself. I'm going to test all of us to see what we can do. And I fucking surpassed it. And I just want to give out a huge, amazingly huge shout out to Willie Braggs. Oh my gosh. I seriously think, there you are. You're in the comments section. Oh my gosh. I really honestly truly think it was you that did it. And I don't know how I'm ever going to pay you back for what you did for us this week. You are, I'm literally, I'm sorry, Vladimir. I'm an emotional creature. I am in astrology, I'm a Cancer, so like my emotions come out in my tears, no matter whether they're sad, happy, in love, all of it. I just feel like, I always just feel like tearing up when something really exciting happens. So just this whole year we've been through hell this year. And just this last couple of months, man, you guys, I don't even know how to thank you all and how to pay you guys all back. I am so grateful for all of you that are here that have been helping me and giving me that strength to be able to do this show. All of you at KRTD, all of you outside of KRTD that just want to help because you guys are my friends. Like, I really don't know how I'm going to thank you back. And I never expected friends to be here for me like that. You get raised, you raise up yourself and you learn, growing up in the streets and stuff, that the only person you ever have to rely on is yourself. If you want something to happen, you've got to go and do it yourself. And it's something that I've taken on as just a life choice is mine, is always just, depend on yourself, do it yourself. You got to do it yourself. And you guys are like succeeding and over succeeding any kind of, trauma that I've had in my mind, in my past, in my life, that like, I don't know how I'm ever going to thank you guys. You guys mean seriously the world to me. And I don't know how I'm ever going to pay you back. I really don't. I'm still kind of in shock. A lot of stuff has been kind of going on. I lost probably one of my most dearest and oldest friends yesterday over some really shitty stuff. And so yesterday was a really hard time for me. I was really going through it within the last couple of days, finding out that how she passed and how long she's been passed and how long she's been gone. So just all of that. And then seeing that this morning, man, I just like, I've been like a whirlwind of emotions for like the last 48 hours. And I am absolutely like, no, it's okay, Willie. It's fine. Life happens. Like I've said to myself, at least I still have some friends from my old hometown that I can still talk to. We're just, a few of us are really starting to notice, like out in our old town, it's just a lot of our friends are like dropping like flies out there. And I'm coming to the conclusion that my hometown is just a hellhole, and that's where people just go to die. And it's just, feel so lucky for getting out of there when I had the chance to, because I could have been one of those people, so don't even worry. Later on today, towards the end, I'm going to post up a GoFundMe with that whole situation. My friend's body has been stuck in a coroner's office for over a month. The family has no way of getting her home to be able to have, her mom wants a viewing, which I'm like, I'm a little worried about her having a viewing, but I understand the necessity of a mom wanting to see her daughter for one last time. So that's what the whole GoFundMe for them is about, is trying to get them to come back, or get them to bring her home from where she's at, where she was killed. So that's been that whole thing yesterday and the day before. And then, yeah, it's been quite a lot for the last couple of days. So good morning, everyone. Thank you all for stopping by. We've got Vladimir Lenin. Thank you for coming by. Yona, of course. Thank you for coming by. I love you, bro. Guys, go, like I said, go check out his YouTube channel. Go check out Willie Bragg's show too. He's here in the comments section right now. Go give him a follow. Please, 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 please give him a follow. I personally think he is the one that is like helping us succeed. He's not even part of INN, and he's like helping us succeed. Or I mean, INN. He's part of INN. He's not part of KRTD. And he's helping us succeed over to 1,000. I really don't know how I'm going to thank you. I really, honestly, truly don't. I am still completely in shock. So yeah, Robert, we actually finished our beta to our 1,000 subscribers. I'm so excited. I was going through all the AdSense stuff this morning. I just got to get the address from Shane, and then we'll be ready to go to where we can start getting monetized on YouTube, which is awesome. Scary part is we're like, if I wasn't in the eye before, I'm definitely going to be in the eye of Sauron now. But you know, this is the goal that we've been wanting. So yeah, Yona remixed the song, so it's absolutely amazing. I love it. Good morning, Les Bones. Good to see you. Let's see who else is here. Warren, of course. Hi, Warren. You don't know how you did it either, Willie. You're fucking amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Shake and Bacon. What's up, fool? Right. Next goal is 2,000. I don't even know where to go from here. I'm just happy we hit 1,000. I'm just like, okay, we're done. We're good. My work here is done. I'm like Mary Poppins. I came in, I helped, I'm out. I'm taking my umbrella, I'm gone. Your father was stuck at Broward County, Florida coroners for over a month. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I know. It's absolutely ridiculous how they're treating her over there. So the story behind it is absolutely nuts. Her mom had actually put up a missing persons report about 3 months ago and has been looking for her for about 3 months now. And the coroner's office got a hold of her mom about 3 days ago, left her a message. Her mom didn't know who it was from. And so she called a number back, and it was the coroner's office saying that they had her daughter and that she'd been in there for a month. So I was like, damn, Mom, like, holy fuck, I've never heard anything like that. And that, like, I know that my friend's DNA is in the system because she's been arrested. So it just didn't make sense to me. Like, how did they keep her in there for so long and didn't, like, you know, they take her fingerprints or, you know, like swab for DNA or anything like that to try to figure out who she was. Because she's in the system. Like, how would they have found her after a month? You know, obviously, because she's already in the system. It was wild to me. Like, the whole story is just absolutely wild. So I'm going to be putting out a GoFundMe at the end. At the end of it. Dishes are done. Yay. That's what I have to do today. I got dishes to do today. And then I got to change out the cat box today. Even though I just did it yesterday, these cats are out of hand. I don't know why they're pooping so much, but it's driving me crazy. So I got dishes to do today too. No fun. Today we've got Sherry coming in. She should be here in about 15 minutes or so. We're going to be talking. She really enjoyed the conversation this week about not enjoyed, but she's still kind of like the rest of us, still kind of reeling from the closeness of World War III, how easy that could be, how that could come. She really enjoyed watching the video I showed the other day about Franz Ferdinand and how easy it was to start World War I. So I think that's what she wants to come on and talk about today, is maybe a little bit of history lesson on how easy it is to be able to start wars, and how we need to pay attention to history so we don't repeat ourselves, and how easy it is to repeat ourselves. So I can't wait for her to come on today because I love that shit. They don't automatically collect your DNA when you're in the system. only if you're going to stay in. So like if you're in a substation for a couple of days and then you go to court and they're like, okay, you're done, you can get out. They usually don't do that. But if you get like, you go to the substation and then you go to court and they're like, you got to do 180 days in county, and then you head out to county, to the county jail. That's when they do the swabs, that usually when you're like in custody, not just kind of the in between. It's usually after you've been given like a partial sentence, not like, like this is what you're going to get. And then you got to go back to LA County or to the county jail, and then you can go back to court and they're like, all right, this is your sentence. And then your sentence starts, like an arraignment, I guess you could say. Yeah, usually that's when they do that. So yes, they do that. A decade ago, many of us content makers would have up to 5,000 to 10,000 when YouTube had a more merit-based algorithm system. YouTube shadow bans us now, which is why content makers have trouble growing. I agree. Absolutely agree. 100%. Definitely a really hard thing to do. I think now that we've hit that 1,000 subscriber, we're definitely going to be hitting some hey. We're definitely going to be hitting some roadblocks and some new things that we've never experienced before that we're going to have to try to figure out now. Hey, I can squirt you too, sir. Doing a show tonight. Yay. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it's Friday, of course. So, yeah, you guys go check, like I said earlier, go check out Yona. Go give him a subscribe. Hit the little bell notification. He's going to be live tonight, so you don't want to miss that at all. That's going to be a lot of fun. I love watching his Friday night shows, the Yona shows. They're a fucking blast, so. Let's see. The very weak Yona channel jumped from 203 to 261. Oh. Jeez. That's nuts. Yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. So I was thinking after today, after Sherry comes, we can maybe like make fun of Elon a little bit. I did not gather anything. I slept a lot and just kind of relaxed all day yesterday. I just barely did anything. My mind could not think of anything other than like, Jimmy, you want to rip out your uterus? So I wrote down a couple of things that we could talk about. Elon, everybody at Twitter are resigning. Elon was saying something about if you want to like go hardcore, click this yes button. If no, we'll give you like a 30-day severance pay. And then some really crazy stuff happened out here in LA. These police recruits were going on their morning jog. They kind of like jog in the morning, kind of like what military does, do their like morning, 2-mile jog together. And somebody ran all of them over, like all of them, like all 25 of them. It's absolutely insane what happened. I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone died yet or anything, but that's all I got. If you guys have any news that's going on, please send me some links. Oh yeah, really quick too, because Willie, since you did, I was thinking, since you helped us out like so much within the last day or two with this subscriber count, if you want to come on here, if you're willing enough, because I know how early this shit is in the morning. If you want to come on here someday next week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, any of the days, and come and hang out with me for the 3 hours, and we can talk about new stuff and all that, like same thing that you do on your channel. If you want to come over here and do that, I completely 100% invite you on any day that you are willing to come and hang out, and we'll just have our own little 3-hour party here, early morning party. So you have a friend who has a show on YouTube, has like 16 subscribers. Yeah, that's pretty normal nowadays. No, I don't think he was a drunk driver. I believe it was on purpose. We're still learning a lot about it. It just happened this week, and I think they've been looking for the suspect. I think they just arrested the suspect last night. But I think the motive is still not known. The only thing that the people that were there and the witnesses are saying is that the guy was going a normal speed, and when he saw the recruits, he actually sped up a little faster. So I don't think that there was alcohol or anything involved. I think the guy was just like hating on them and ran them over. I guess they were saying that the only time that they heard or tried to hear or they heard screeching like tires stopping was when he was about to hit the pole, which he hit the pole so hard that he actually knocked the telephone pole over. So that's how fast he was going. So that from what I heard, he was speeding up when he saw them. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you want me to come on, you let me know and I will be there. I loved your show. Your show's a fucking blast. So please join. Please, I'm more than welcome any day you want me to. Absolutely. Let me know and I will be there 100%. I'm still waiting for Miss Sherry. I don't know where the heck she is. 20 minutes early. I'm like almost done talking. My tongue is starting to hurt. Oh, you're going to Warren. You guys go check out Extra Booyah on YouTube as well. Give him a subscribe. He's trying to get to the 1,000 subscriber count as well. He's been working on it a lot longer than we have. He actually he's growing on Rockfin though, which is like amazing. Rockfin is like whoop woo. That's right. Brandy and D sitting at 44 subscribers. Hell yeah. Definitely go and sorry. Totally brain farted right now. Brandy and D, Around the World with Brandy and D. If you guys want to go and check her out on YouTube as well, just type into the search engine Around the World with Brandy and D. You'll find her channel. They are doing really good international topics when it comes to issues that are involved around the world. Right now they're doing a lot of South America stuff, which is really cool with Madeline. I believe they were on last night. So they're working hard, getting their shit done, which is absolutely amazing as well. We got so many people on here that are content creators. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now that I've hit my goal, I'm like, all right, you guys, let's all hit your goal. Let's go. Let me do this. let me be Mary Poppins for your channels now. If I could sit here and prove to myself that I can do it, I can help you guys now. A Willie Jimmy collab. I've already been on his show once. I was on it. God, how long ago did I go on your show? It was like right at the beginning of me starting this show. So it had to have been about a little over a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. I went on to Willie. I think I was like maybe 1 or 2 weeks into my show. And Willie's like, Jimmy, you want to come on my show? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to come on your show. What time? He's all, tomorrow, or was it tonight or something? I'm like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Let's just do it. And then like that day I went on to his show. It was wild. But yeah, I can't wait to see Warren and Willie on Monday. That's gonna be awesome. Yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome. Don't have to feel honored. I promise the show is not that big of a deal. I'm literally sitting here in my jammy pants. So if you want to come in your jammies, if you got a onesie, I'm always down to show off onesies. Yes, join us live on Wednesdays. You can join Jimmy live on Wednesdays, Yona's day off, and extending invite. Yes, absolutely. If you want me to come on your show too, Yona, I am more than welcome or more than willing. You are more than welcome to come on my show as well. We can even do like a whole music day. That would be really, really fun. Like a music appreciation day. That would be woo. Yeah. Les Bones. I was on there like a little over a month ago. It was awesome. Peasants podcast will air live tonight after 1 week postponement. Yeah, due to YouTube fuckeries. You guys go resubscribe to Yona. Yona lost his entire goddamn channel and is literally having to start back from scratch. I've given my subscription to him. I'm actually going to, I like to cheat sometimes. I've got like 5 YouTube, not 5 YouTube channels, but like 5 Gmail accounts. So I'll go and Yona, once this is over, I'll go and give you all of my subscriptions as well. I did that for my little nephew. He was like 4 away from hitting his 1,000 subscriber on YouTube for his video game thing on YouTube. And I was like, all right, let me go and subscribe to you really quick with my few accounts and you'll have your 1,000. And he's like, yeah, we hit 1,000. And I'm like, you're welcome. There's my 4 accounts. Yes. Have a good day. Have a good day at work. Absolutely. Look at oh, that's so cool. I love it. Virginia West, there I live. Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Ah, happy Friday. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. We're over here celebrating today. We hit our 1,000 subscribers. I'm so happy. I like don't even know what to say. I'm like seriously still in shock, and I'm like sitting here waiting for Sherry to come because I have no idea what the hell to talk about. So I'm like I want to like share this happiness with Sherry. So I'm like waiting for her to come in. I'm like sitting here looking underneath me right here in StreamYard, like, come on, Sherry. Where are you? Where are you, Sherry? Do you think I can check out the ML YouTuber Fellow Traveler? Uh, yeah, sure. At some point, once Sherry gets out of here, or once Sherry's done with me today, afterwards, yeah, absolutely, definitely can check that out. Um, remind me once Miss Dr. Wise leaves, and we can definitely go check that out. Good morning, Nikki. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by today. The Tuesday after next works for me. All right, you got it. I will put it in my calendar, and you've got it. We need to place bets on Twitter falling apart and if Mastodon will succeed as an open source. Is Mastodon kind of like a Twitter as well? Because there's a lot of people that are making a lot of different ones. You know, you've got like all those conservative ones as well, and then you've also got like Panquake, you know, and then we have all of our regular social media accounts as well. I mean, if you're like when it comes to viewing eyes and people wanting to see you, I think right now like Instagram and TikTok, like the Reels and TikTok is where it's at right now. I try to follow like really high up YouTubers to kind of see where the trends are going in the world. And this week, Shane Dawson did a whole like 3-part like documentary on Jeffree Star this week. And it's looking like that seems to be like where the place is, like where social media is right now, where like everyone is. It seems like a lot of the clicks and stuff come from either Reels or TikToks. It seems like that's where it's at right now. So definitely. Because leftists make me look bad. Took you 3 hours to make samples of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, but it was so worth it. Had to add Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah, Warren's gonna love that. Is YouTube being a fuckery right now? Of course. Okay, it's open source, no ads. It's like Twitter and Reddit combined. Oh, that's interesting. Big Mad Crab made a reel. I make TikToks, just not very often. I'm like trying to find my niche in the TikTok world because like I'm stuck in like the weird TikToks, like because there's like whole worlds in TikToks, and so they're like whatever world it is, it's called that talk. So like if you're into books, there's book talk, or if you're into like, you know, people trying to be all sexy and stuff, you get stuck in the thirst talk, or you like cosplay, you get stuck into cosplay talk, you know. So there's like all these worlds, and I'm trying to figure out my little niche in those. It seems like politics seems to get the most views in there for me than anything else. But it's pretty interesting. I'm still trying to learn it, and I still feel like I'm too old for TikTok. I just like to watch the creativeness of other people in there. So you don't have TikTok? uh, oh, you're like, it is big mad crap. Oh, that's great. I saw he had he like posted up a TikTok or something on Twitter yesterday, and it was like some kind of scenario. I didn't open it up or anything because I was like, sound to me was like, no, Jimmy, you don't want sound. Sound is evil right now. I was like, I need silence yesterday. You're helping a local show here in Sacramento by the name of Voices. River City gets over 1,000 subscribers as they have 270 subscribers, 37 subscribers now. Okay. Big Mad Crab is the first lefty I ever corresponded with in Yugoslavia's. Oh, okay. Was the real funny? I see. I have to watch it. I skipped by it yesterday. What's going on with the YouTube chat today? What's happening? I heard they got new emotes. Definitely heard they got new emotes. But look, that's what it's looking like now on my end. It just looks like boxes. I don't know what to do. It's just boxes. Look. Thanks for the boxes, everyone. Oh, shit. You guys, okay. It's 10:31. We've got Sherry in the background now. No more fucking around, all of you guys. Jesus Christ, my friends are wild. All right, let's bring Sherry in. Good morning, Sherry.
Hello. I wanted to introduce someone. This is little Goliath.
Hi, Goliath.
Goliath is a 6-pound Chihuahua. My daughter adopted him from the pound, so he's really my granddoggy. But he's pretty shy.
He's got like a thick face. He does not have like the Chihuahua face.
Yeah, it's like I guess a dome-shaped head.
He's so cute though.
Yeah, he's a little sweetie. He's
a puppy boobies. So, hiya, babies. He's ears. Hiya, babies. Hiya, babies. The ears. Yes, the ears. Yes, the ears. Oh, he is so cute.
He's a sweet little boy.
Yep.
I don't think he'll last very long.
That lady's cousin. Here, wait. I got Lady right here on my lap. Here, Lady, look. You want to say hi? We've got like somebody who might be related.
Oh, look at that. Oh, Lady, you know what? My daughter had a Chihuahua that was bred with a what do you call one of those little greyhounds. There's a name for Italian greyhound. Italian greyhound. Oh my God, she was such an adorable little girl, but she had a disease and didn't last very long. So unfortunately, but we got Goliath. So
you say hi, Lady? That could be your boyfriend. Do you want a boyfriend? She's like, no, Mom. Oh. The cat right here.
Oh, I see.
I've got a zoo at my house, so.
Yeah, we just have dogs and turtles.
Oh, I want a turtle.
I wish we
I don't
had,
need any more animals. What's up, Odin? So how are you this morning?
I am good. I hear congratulations are in order.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Oh, holy shit. I'm telling you, I think it's like 100% Willie Braggs. I swear it has to be. He's been sharing our stuff even on Twitter and everything like that for the last 2 days. And I went to bed last night and we were at 968. And before, like the day before, we were at 951. And I'm like, holy shit, we're at 968 already. That's like 27, 28 people just within the 24 hours. And then I went to bed last night. I woke up this morning and we're at 1,030. So we're 50 above.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. So like when I was saying this morning, like we hit the goal, like we overpassed that goal. So it has to be all thanks to Willie because oh my gosh. I'm like still it hasn't kicked in yet. I'm still like in shock. I think the whole overbearing of emotions for the last 48 hours is still, I'm like, I feel all the emotions, but still shock is what's coming out everywhere. It's like I haven't even been able to like emotionally process everything, right? Yeah. Like with my period cramps and then my friend dying and then the YouTuber
Oh,
or the
no.
YouTube 1,000 like subscriber count. It's just like I have not had anything settle in. Everything has just been in shock
Yeah,
mode still.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry about your friend. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. I like I said, I'm still in shock, so it hasn't hit yet. Maybe what this weekend when I have no show, I can just get it all out and let it all cry.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're like me. I kind of it all
Yep.
hangs out.
Yep.
But
Yep.
then but then I
Well,
kind
we're
of move
moms.
on.
That's what we do. We're moms. We like hold it in, hold it in, hold it in, and then when we're finally by ourselves, we're like, "Ah, what happened?" You know?
That's right.
Yep.
Well, Goliath is still sitting here on my lap, so luckily that's nice.
All
So,
right.
anyway, so yeah, you and I had talked yesterday or emailed yesterday, uh, and I was really impressed with your segment that you had earlier about World War One,
Yes.
and I thought, oh, this is great. I got to talk about World War One with
Yep.
you because it is really like I would imagine that probably Europeans are taught the importance of that war, but in the U.S., I don't really think that I think it's really giving short shrift because really World War One was the defining event of the 20th century. It really was. It changed everything, and most of us don't really appreciate, at least in this country, don't really appreciate how important it was, and how um, uh, all the different things that led to it. All the different things that came out of it, including World War II.
Mhm.
World War II was just really a continuation of it.
Yep.
But it was basically a completely, I know it's a tired old phrase, but it was basically a completely new world order that came out of it. I think to understand our problems, it really helps if you know something about World War One and kind of what happened and what our role was, and uh, you know, and also what happened after World War One that was so important.
Mhm.
It was a war that really saw dramatic changes in the technology of war, and it actually made John, believe it or not, made John Maynard Keynes famous worldwide and made him a wealthy man because he wrote a book criticizing the Treaty of Paris, and so that book really hit a nail, and it really hit a you know hit the net right nail, and it really just kind of woke people up, made people really aware. And he unfortunately was proven to be right because he was criticizing the harsh treaties of the Treaty of Paris on Germany, and ignoring that led to World War II. So
Yep.
anyway,
I got a video out I want to show really
oh
quick
sure,
on it's called Oversimplified World War One and how it
okay,
got started. So that way we can at least get a little bit of an idea of how oversimplified in a cartoon version of how World War One got started.
yeah, yeah.
The world of 1914, a time of modern technology, culture, and fashion. Truly the height of civilization. Let's have a war. Everyone knew a big war was coming. France wanted some stuff back that Germany had taken from it. Germany wanted to take more of everyone's stuff, and they were building a big sexy navy that was making the British uncomfortable. These two empires thought they were really cool, but lots of different people who lived there didn't think it was so cool. And some of them had even been declaring independence with help from Russia. Everyone was talking about each other behind each other's backs, throwing the fact that military technology had come a long way since the last major war, and suddenly everyone was pretty eager to beat each other up. In this area of Austria-Hungary lived some Serbs and Bosnians who hated living in Austria-Hungary. So the Austro-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand goes there for a nice drive in an open-top car with his car's route published in advance. And that went just about as well as you'd expect. Some assassins were waiting for him along the way and threw bombs at his car. but they missed and blew up some officers behind him instead. So the Archduke goes into hiding, leaves Sarajevo, and the whole war never happens. Except no, the Archduke doesn't leave, but instead goes back out in the open-top car to visit the injured officers in hospital. The driver takes a wrong turn and by sheer coincidence gets stuck beside one of the failed assassins, who shoots him. Austria-Hungary is understandably pissed about all this, and they think the Serbian government had something to do with it, which they might have. So they go to their ally Germany and say, hey Germany, we're going to declare war on Serbia, and Germany is all for that. So Austria-Hungary send a big list of impossible demands to Serbia, and when Serbia refuses, they declare war. Austria-Hungary and Germany are friends, and Serbia is protected by Russia, who's friends with France, so they'll declare war on each other. Montenegro joins in too. France and Britain also have a kind of alliance, so when France says, hey Britain, you got my back? Britain is like, maybe. And then they decide to stay out of it, which is great for Germany because Germany has a plan. They know that Russia is so big and clumsy that it will take them a while to get ready for war. So with this guy in charge, Germany will send all its troops into France at lightning speed while Russia's getting ready, defeat France, then move all the troops to Russia and defeat Russia, and then we all speak German and eat Pfefferpottast every day. Just one problem. France has loads of forts and defenses along its German border, and Germany can't waste any time fighting them, so Germany decides to go around them, through Belgium. Belgium is neutral, but Germany wants to march 750,000 troops through it.
So really quick, I just wanted to really mention, as I was talking about the other day, this is kind of how the start of World War I, just the shooting, the murder of one person. That's it. That's all it is. That's how simple it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And, I mean, we don't realize, because there were things that were building up over the years. And there was a lot of warmongering that was going on in Europe, even before the war. And, at the same time, the U.S., we weren't involved with it at first. We came in towards the end. Mm-hmm. But, at the same time, we had kind of been through some of this whole thing. I mean, a lot of what what was behind this was Germany was trying to become an empire. Germany had really only consolidated as a country like in the 1870s or something, the Franco-Prussian War. And that's when it took Alsace and Lorraine. And so there had been these tensions, but there was a lot of warmongering, and just a lot of generals saying we need to push. And then what happened was Kaiser William, who he actually was the grandson of Queen Victoria, and he was cousins with the King of England and the Russian Tsar. He had like a personality problem because when he was born, he I guess he was breech, and they pulled him out and they like disfigured one of his arms. And he was treated badly by his mother, who was, I guess, one of the children of Queen Victoria.
He probably ripped her a new hole coming out the wrong way.
Yeah. And yeah, probably so.
Right?
Yeah.
You can imagine my baby's coming out feet first.
Yeah. And so anyway, he just had this insecurity, and he kind of felt like he needed to be, he wanted to try to make Germany just as good as like England and Russia. And so he was trying to build up the Navy and stuff like that. So there's these pressure, there was this pressure cooker situation that was happening around Europe in different ways. But you're right. It took one thing that just kind of set it all off. And the whole freaking world was at war eventually.
Yep. Okay, let's finish watching this.
To get around France's defenses. They're hoping Belgium will just kind of sit down and shut up, but they don't. They fight back, and they're pretty good too, so they slow the Germans down. What's worse is that Britain shows up, and they're pretty pissed that Germany's invading neutral countries. So now Britain declares war on Germany. So Germany push on through Belgium and commit some atrocities along the way. They also wear spikes and sometimes skulls on their uniform. So if you're trying to not look like the bad guys, good job. The Allies have a propaganda extravaganza, and this starts having an influence around the world, notably in America. The US President Woodrow Wilson sees himself as a bit of a Jesus figure and spends most of the war trying to get everyone to just hug it out. But there's also a large population of ethnic Germans living in the United States, and when the war first broke out, they were like, yay, Germany. But now that they're committing atrocities in Belgium, they're less enthusiastic. Let's play Spot the French Soldier. Did you see him? Easy, right? He's wearing a bright blue uniform with red trousers. And do you know who else spotted him easily too? The Germans. So when the French were slowly marching in columns through the countryside, the Germans easily tore them to shreds with their giant guns. All the nations involved in this war went in with an old-school war mentality, and all of them had to update their uniforms and tactics a lot during the Great War. Because this war was going to be like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Russia's ready for war, and way earlier than expected. Hey, Austria-Hungary, can you get on top of that? Oh yeah, sure, we've got this. Nope. So Germany has to send some troops back to the east to defend against the Russians. The chief of staff of the Austro-Hungarian army is this guy, and although he is handsome, he turns out not to be the best military strategist. Austria-Hungary constantly ignores Germany's advice, and then comes running back to Germany whenever they get in trouble. Austria-Hungary even gets its ass kicked by tiny Serbia, who repels all their invasion attempts at the start of the war. It's better news for Germany in the north, though, where they almost completely wipe out the Russian Second Army. Back on the Western Front, the Germans continue advancing and are in sight of Paris. At this point, anyone would be forgiven for thinking the Germans were going to get that quick victory after all. But then things start to go wrong. The French commander-in-chief knew something had to be done, and he ordered his armies to stop retreating. In the resulting battle, a gap opened up in the German lines. If a gap opens up, the enemy can use it to flank you from the side and behind, so the German armies have to retreat. The Allies launch a counterattack, so the Germans dig into defensive positions. The Allies do the same. Then both sides move north, trying to outflank each other along the way. When they reach the sea, they're in a stalemate with trench systems running the whole way from the coast to Switzerland, the beginning of trench warfare on the Western Front. Here's how trench warfare works. Two opposing lines of trenches with no man's land in between. One side would pummel the other with hundreds of thousands of artillery shells, sometimes for days at a time. This had a huge psychological effect on the soldiers, leaving many shell-shocked. Then, the attacking troops would leave their trenches and rush across no man's land, a muddy wet mass of shell craters and barbed wire. The defending trench would unleash machine gun fire on the attackers, inflicting thousands of casualties. The attackers would send wave after wave until either they gave up or the opposing trench was finally overrun. There would be months of fighting and the deaths of thousands in order to gain a few meters or kilometers of land. Living in the trenches was hard work too. Corpses, mud that could swallow you whole, pools of poisonous water, rats, disease, the smell. It's insane that millions of soldiers put up with these conditions, and commanders ordered them to do so for years.
That's just so wild to me to like even think of the fact that we could be back in that so close. Like we were so close this week to being back into that.
Yeah. I know. This is the thing. People don't seem to really grasp how serious this situation has been. We've been playing with World War III for really 4 years now because of the way the U.S. has handled, its relationship with Russia and NATO. It's just, and as I said to you in that one message, one of the things that's really bizarre that people haven't really seemed to put together is part of what made that war so bad were these alliances that they had made with each other. And so, Britain comes in to defend France and Russia comes in to defend Serbia. And, when you have an alliance like NATO, well, everybody's really just kind of, what it is it's an entity to be against Russia.
Right.
And so what do you expect is going to happen? If everybody in Europe is in NATO except Russia, and we want to pick a fight with Russia, what do you think is going to happen? It's just so discouraging.
Yeah. And we even saw it this week, how close we were. I want to share that as well. you guys, everybody that was watching the show, we went and looked up after that missile hit Poland. We went and looked it up on Twitter. We looked up people that were researching it, found out that it was an S-300, which is a defense missile. It's supposed to stop missiles from coming. It ended up going the wrong way, hit Poland. And we knew it was because an S-300 is what Ukraine is still using. Russia had started using S-400s. So they've upgraded their systems, and because Ukraine used to be a part of Russia, they were able to get the S-300s, and that's why they still have it. They haven't upgraded because they're not part of Russia, and Russia's upgraded. So that's how we knew it wasn't a part of Russia. But then you've got, which is what I'm going to show, even though we all knew it wasn't Russia, we knew it was Ukraine. Even the top NATO people even had a meeting and said that they knew it was Russia. Zelensky still went out there and was like, this was Russia. This was absolutely Russia. You guys need to help us. Send us some more machines. Send us all this. And this is kind of like what really scared us to think that, okay, this is possibly World War III, because even though we knew it, it seemed like the warmongers were like, yeah, let's just keep it going, And so here is the little news brief of Zelensky asking for more weapons.
President Zelensky is digging in this morning, insisting that his country didn't fire, accidentally or otherwise, a missile that crossed into Poland. I have no doubt it was not our rocket, he said. Asked about that, President Biden saying overnight,
that's not the evidence.
Poland's president, Andrzej Duda, called it a tragic accident, most likely caused by a misfire from a Ukrainian air defense system, an assessment shared by the Pentagon.
We have seen nothing that contradicts President Duda's preliminary assessment that this explosion was most likely the result of a Ukrainian air defense missile that unfortunately landed in Poland.
But the U.S. and NATO nonetheless blamed Russia for the incident, suggesting Ukraine was only using its air defenses after Russia had launched a barrage of missiles targeting Ukraine's infrastructure. Like this attack in Dnipro this morning.
And that's the question that, here, let me replay that really quick.
Defenses after Russia had
that unfortunately landed in Poland.
But the U.S. and NATO nonetheless blamed Russia for the incident, suggesting Ukraine was only using its air defenses after Russia had launched a barrage of missiles targeting Ukraine's infrastructure.
So that part really quick before we get into the next part of this, do you think that there's still even a smidgen of a possibility of World War III because of now the change of mindset with these guys? They're saying, it wasn't Russia, it was Ukraine, but Ukraine was using it to defend against all these missiles from Russia. So do you think that Poland is going to allow Ukraine to do this and not have anything to pay for it? Or do you think, because Russia was so mean to them that now Poland is going to join in on it? And then if Poland joins in, now we've got NATO in it, which will cause World War III.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a military analyst. So my opinion is really not worth a whole heck of a lot. But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems, I don't know, it seems like we've been, maybe there's probably some forces in the White House or, in the military in the US that are really trying. It seems like they're really some people are really trying to, show some restraint with this. But then you have these other people like Blinken, and I mean it seems like in a way there's some conflict in the White House about whether or not we really want to do this. But I'm not convinced that it couldn't happen,
Right.
Right. We just continue. We've continued to make it worse and worse and worse by like trying to bring Finland in, and I mean, honestly, and it's what's tragic is that Americans have so little insight into themselves in understanding that, like my generation, we grew up believing the Soviet Union, being told the Soviet Union was this terrible country, that they didn't respect civil rights, and they wanted to take over the world, and their news was their news was nothing but a communications arm of the government. It's like we've become a lot of that ourselves.
Yeah.
And but the thing of it is they were just people trying, to protect themselves. I mean, and Russia was invaded a couple of times by Germany. Russia has been really, I think they've shown a lot of restraint, and I think the average American really doesn't, have any real understanding of how much we've been brainwashed, and how vulnerable we are to being taken advantage of by people in our government who want this war. So
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to show this next little really quick clip as well on here, because it's like we know that the war is happening, but we don't see it here. So here, let me play this really quick and then I'll talk.
Like this attack in Dnipro this morning.
Something like that. Just really quick, 3 seconds, something as simple as that. That really stood out to me this morning, that video, because that's just a normal street, normal people are driving on, and a bomb goes off. And I think it's because of the fact that Americans don't see something like that on a regular basis here on our own grounds, that
Exactly.
It hasn't hit reality for us yet.
Right.
All we have to base off of is 9/11, and we're still like it's like we're still living through that all the time. Like, imagine if something like that was to happen every single day on your land, like these people are dealing with. And I think that's why Americans are so okay with these wars and not fighting back against the politicians and the corporate owners that are wanting these wars, is because we haven't seen something like that on our own land.
I think that's a really good point, Jimmy. I read a book maybe a couple of years ago, and I can't remember what it was. It wasn't that great of a book, but it was a book about geopolitics. And I had never really thought about it before. And I guess this is maybe kind of dumb, but the United States is so unique in its geological position, because we have two, huge oceans on both of our sides, and then we have friends on the north, in the north and the south. So we're really kind of like invincible for some kind of like a land invasion. And so, but when you're, a country like Russia, and I'm not trying to, be like just pro-Russian or anything, but I'm saying, this is a time when we need diplomacy. And part of diplomacy is having some empathy for the other side. And, we never have any empathy for Russia. We just go after them just because really what it is because they have a different worldview, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. All right, let's finish watching this.
I don't know all the facts. We do know one thing. This tragedy would never have happened but for Russia's needless invasion of Ukraine and its recent missile assaults against Ukraine's civilian infrastructure.
Russia quickly tried to capitalize on the confusion, accusing its enemies of whipping up hysteria. Russia's UN ambassador saying this is not just an international attempt at disinformation, but a conscious attempt to bring NATO into direct conflict with our country. Russia says the missiles it launched against Ukraine were at least 20 miles from the Polish border.
Well, much of the world's attention has been focused on this cross-border incident here in the city of Kherson, which was just recently taken back by Ukraine from Russian forces. They're still trying to figure out how damaging the Russian occupation was. And just this morning, I was at the Fine Arts Museum here, and I went in with the director. It was the first time that she went into her museum since the Russians were driven out. And unfortunately, the museum was looted. She says around 10,000 pieces, perhaps more.
Just a little more casualties of war, I guess. I think it was just the first part that I was wanting to talk about. Okay, so those are all the videos that I have to at least show about this information. I just thought it's so scary to me how close we could have came to all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And you know, and we're still warmongering. I mean, there's Richard Engel. What's he doing? He's reporting from, you know, behind the scenes with the Ukrainians. Are we getting objective information? No. You know, I mean, we haven't had objective information for decades now from the mainstream media. But you know, and the sad thing is that, you know, the news is a big part of this, you know, as it was in World War I. It was the same kind of thing. There's actually a great quote. I was looking at another video, a different video about beginning of World War I. And by the way, I love that video that you had. It was great. It really did a great job, you know, in capturing all that information and presenting it in a, you know.
I love the infographic stuff.
Yeah, that was great. That was really great. So, no, what was I going to say?
No, you're good. So then, with this whole war and everything like that as well, and what you were talking about in Slack is NATO. I wanted to talk about NATO. How did NATO start? What was the point of them? What is the point of them now? How has it changed? You know, what promises have they broken? What can we learn from this? Because it just, nowadays in 2022, when all of this is going on, it feels like, as a younger generation, somebody who's had NATO around forever, it just feels like it's something that's there, something that we all just have to deal with, and it's never going away, and they're going to keep breaking promises and keep expanding because this is just what they do. Like, how did NATO get started?
Okay, what happened was after World War I, after World War II, you know, Germany had invaded, Stalin and Hitler had been allies. And then, of course, Hitler double-crossed the Russians, invaded Russia. And, you know, they suffered enormous losses due to the fighting that occurred on their ground in Russia. So, as you were saying, you know, we don't get invaded, but Russia got invaded, and they got invaded a couple different times. And it's stunning, really, if you listening to the stuff about the war, how Germany was able to hang on and just really, I mean, they developed, you know, like fighter plane like technology, and, you know, the U-boats and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so Germany was a very scary, you know, enemy to have. And so Russia got betrayed. At the end of World War II, then what happened was we had allied with the Soviet Union at that point in time. The war came to an end, and, you know, Europe was just a disaster. I mean, it was just, there's a great movie called The Third Man. Have you ever seen that? It's with Orson Welles and Joseph Cotton. And it's a great, like, it's a mystery, but it takes place in Germany right after the war, and it shows, you know, like the devastation that had happened to Germany, because we just really just bombed just from that country into the ground. Anyway, so what happened was at the end of the war, Europe was kind of a mess, and there was still actually a lot of fighting. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that was World War One. There was still a lot of fighting after World War One. There had been a lot of unrest for a long time, and at the end of the war, the U.S. came in, and basically what we did was we divided up Germany, and the U.S. and France took certain parts, and the Soviet Union took a part. But the Soviet Union actually then started to move in to other countries of Europe and basically declared a buffer zone for themselves. And so they basically said, okay, all these Eastern European countries, they're going to be part of the Soviet Union because we want a barrier to protect ourselves from Germany.
Right.
And so NATO was an organization of basically the allies, and then other countries joined. But so the point of NATO was to provide a defense of Europe in case the Soviet Union decides to expand. Now, I don't know that there was ever any real evidence that it was going to expand. They kind of felt like protecting themselves. But, you can understand how there would be a lot of concern about that. And there was still a lot of fear of communism. And so, especially in the, in the U.S., business interests and political interests. So, and then of course, I think, certainly by the end of World War II, if not long before, the military industrial presence really, it started to really take shape and take form and really express its interests. It was a time when people were still really afraid because, because they'd gone through these two really horrific wars, and they had seen a lot of aggression, and so it's understandable that people would be afraid. But I think what happened was NATO came into existence, and then it took on a life of its own. Right. And at the end, and when the Soviet Union collapsed, really, there was no need for NATO. Right. We should have disbanded it. And there were people that wanted to disband it. But clearly, the people in charge in this country, and probably others, they saw benefit in keeping Russia as an enemy.
Yeah.
Or at least, I think a lot of I don't know that it's even necessarily so much Russia as it is Putin, because when the Soviet Union collapsed, they asked for our help. Like, I know economists who went over there and were advising the Soviet Union and the satellite countries. They were trying to help them kind of get a market established, but the way we went about it, and we did a terrible job. And on top of it, we allowed a lot of corruption to occur. And so that was a big part of the reason why Putin took over. And so we don't, when Putin took over, I guess the U.S. figured they could manipulate him the way they manipulated Yeltsin, and they couldn't. And so ever since then, they've had it in for Putin. Because what they want to do is they want to go in and take Russian assets and, basically do all the things that the Russians are afraid they're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that gives me another question then. So if NATO was made because of their fear of the Soviet Union, I know that America has been afraid of communism a lot longer than that. So when did we start being afraid of communism, and why?
Well, in the 19th century, there was a lot of social strife. because the Industrial Revolution really, started really taking hold in the early 1800s. And so what happened was it created a lot of inequality, and there was a lot of social strife around the world, including in the U.S. We had we had a lot of strife, labor strife, and so in Europe, part of, at least this is some theories, I don't know if it's exactly the reason, but it makes sense. In Europe, part of the way they handled the social strife was to, look at the other and try to make it out like, oh, well, it's all these other countries' faults. And then also, well, we're so great, we're going to expand. And so it was basically attempts to misdirect the the countries, the people of those various countries, attention, and try to get them involved in like nationalism and and blaming other countries and colonialism and stuff like that, to try to distract them from the fact that they were seeing a lot of inequality in their countries. And so that's part of it.
Do you think that mentality is still now? Because it so reminds me of like how the mentality is now. It's like, well, we're not so bad because other countries are this much worse, and it's like, oh, that's where you're setting the bar, is like down there. Oh, okay, that I get it now. Is that how it's kind of always been with that?
I think it's been like that for a long time. Probably, I don't know about always, but certainly probably since the 1800s.
Right.
In the U.S., what we did was we waged war on the Native Americans, and and slaughtered them. And so we had our own kind of colonialism, or empire. It just that at first we kept it contained within the U.S. Then, of course, we expanded to Alaska and Hawaii, and at the end of the 1800s, there was a big debate in this country about whether or not we should try to become a colonial empire. And people like Teddy Roosevelt and the business interests were all for it, And then there were people like Mark Twain and many others who were really, really against it. And so what happened was they Hearst dreamed up the stuff that led to the Spanish-American War. We took possession.
We need to liberate them.
Yeah,
the liberation run.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I think you had covered this before about the Philippines. Yep. So what happened was basically, I think Spain was just, they just were like, okay, whatever. And so we took over, the Philippines and Puerto Rico, and and so
I think that's the way that we were able to do it, is tricking the regular people who would otherwise be completely against, colonization and the ruining of cultures in those countries, is using the words liberate. And that makes people think, oh, we're freeing them. We're making them, like us, which is the same as colonization, just using a different term. So
yeah. And so the Filipinos, they were already involved in their own independence movement. We came in and like you said, acted like, oh yeah, we're your best friends, here to help you out.
Yeah. I know. Didn't they?
By the way, let's take over your country.
They had some kind of like fake war and stuff where America's like, oh, we'll pretend like we're having a war with you, and then you guys just leave and say that you lost and give up. But then like the Philippine people couldn't even go and join that war. They weren't even allowed to see it because they weren't supposed to know that, America and Spain were actually secretly making an agreement behind their backs. So that way that America could own it, because Spain was going downhill anyway. It was starting to lose a lot of its power. So or Italy, sorry, I think it was Italy that was controlling
No, it was Spain. It was
Spain.
Spain.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was part of the Spanish-American War.
Yes, the Spanish American. So yeah, it's wild to me, like the manipulation and the verbiage changing just to get people to come. And it feels like with NATO and the expansion of NATO, and now with all this whole stuff, we just got through with 20 years of Afghanistan, of being literally in a war and blowing up entire Middle East countries over an event that happened in the beginning of 2000 that had nothing to do with those countries. They had no involvement whatsoever, but they're the ones, because they're brown and they wear those clothes and they're like that, then they're just as guilty or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it seems like that's the same. We've just spent the last 20 years, we're liberating them, we're freeing them, we're helping them, we're defeating the terrorist over there, not realizing that, like, in their own country, what we consider their terrorist is just their rebels, just like here in America, us independent Green Party, third party activists that don't vote for the main duopoly would probably, if we got, a little bit more riled up and crazy, they would probably consider us terrorists, but we would just be rebels. So in those countries, they're a little bit more violent because there's a lot more violence shown to them. So
after what the Cold War did was I guess wars are always, there's always a lot of jingoism with war. The Cold War really made really focused us on communism. But after the Soviet Union went down, what they're doing is they use the buzzword of terrorism. And so that's how they get us going, and so when the Soviet Union fell apart, well, then they had to find a new enemy. And so they decided that the enemy was going to be terrorism, because terrorism is always around. It's very vague. You can accuse anybody of being a terrorist. It's a pretty convenient tool for keeping the war machine alive and well.
And that's what sucks is, like, we're supposed to be fighting, at least in the words, it says that we're supposed to fight terrorism, domestic and foreign, but it seems like we've completely ignored domestic terrorism and gone only, for foreign, quote unquote, what we consider could be terrorism, even if it's rebel causes. So, but we ignore the American ones. We've got school shooters, mass shooters, we've got, serial killers, we've got all kinds of, people out here in America that are doing things to Americans that could be considered terrorism, but we completely ignore that part and just worry about colonizing other countries in the name of terrorism. So, and that's what sucks, is like our mindset has been manipulated into thinking that the terrorism is the others out in somewhere else, and out here it's just a bunch of people with mental health problems that need help. Or you because there's crazy people, you're quote unquote crazy, because I don't want to say they're crazy people, because they're not. There's quote unquote crazy people out there, so I need more guns. That's more of the selfish mentality of it.
Right. Yeah.
Trying to fix it. Like, that's why a lot of us activists are always like, let's fix here instead of worrying about all these other countries. So
right. Yeah. And what we're doing in those other countries, for the most part, is just taking advantage of them. We say that it's terrorism or this, that, or the other thing, when really, like in in Central America, there's all these issues, but it's really, what it really is it's about protecting American corporations in those areas, and so there's just basically the buzzword that they use. For a while it was communism, now it's terrorism, but it's really about making American corporations rich. And I guess there's less concern here because
right, we're Americans. Yeah, as long as you're not a person of color in America, you're good.
Yeah. So, but it's really sad.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is mental health issues in this country, but there's so many other things that are wrong. And unfortunately, when they do direct attention to the American people, they tend to focus it on the left more than anything, because, basically our government's been anti-progressive.
Yeah, exactly. We're like progressive, anti-American, terrorist, communist activists in America now. Yeah, you're right. The left does definitely get the shit end of the stick when it comes to anything. I got one more video I want to share since we're talking about NATO. It's called The History of NATO, and I'll put it on a little bit faster than normal. Put on 1.5 speed. That way we can go through it fast.
Victory in Europe and rejoicing all over the world is the greater because of the recollection of the triumph of Nazi barbarism and its final overthrow.
But the celebrations didn't last long. World War II had left a trail of destruction in Europe, killing 36 million people, many of them civilians, and displacing millions. The end of the Nazi rule had also paved way for the Soviet expansion in Eastern Europe. The Soviet Union was emerging as a superpower. This had Western Europe and the US worried. Tensions were high and political instability was gripping Europe, with Germany at the core of it. Despite their differences, the UK, the US, France, and the Soviet Union came together in 1947 to decide on Germany's future. But there was little success. Following the failed meeting, this guy, the then UK Foreign Secretary Ernest Bevin, was committed to finding a solution. The Western powers had to organize themselves to defend against Joseph Stalin's expansionist ambitions and the Soviet military power. A year later, Bevin's persistence led to the formation of the Brussels Treaty, signed by Belgium, France, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and the UK. The treaty aimed to show cooperation among Western European countries and encouraged the US to join the alliance. On April 4, 1949, the US did join. The North Atlantic Treaty was signed in Washington, D.C. by 12 countries. Then US President Harry Truman underlined the purpose of the treaty.
To maintain friendly relations and economic cooperation with one another. To consult together whenever the territory or independence of any of them is threatened. And to come to the aid of any one of them who may be attacked.
So what exactly did Truman mean by this? Here's the thing. Article 5 states, if a NATO ally is the victim of an armed attack, each and every other member of the alliance will consider this act of violence as an armed attack against all members and will take the actions it deems necessary to assist the ally attacked. In 1952, more countries joined NATO, Turkey and Greece. Then 3 years later, West Germany followed. This was the last straw for the Soviet Union, and it responded by forming its own alliance. This was the Warsaw Pact. And just like NATO, the Warsaw Pact was a treaty of collective defense among the Soviet Union and its communist partners in Eastern Europe. Then came the nuclear arms race. Over the next 10 years, nuclear weapons were heavily developed and tested. The UK, France, and the US were testing and experimenting in different parts of the world. In 1961, the Soviets detonated the world's most powerful nuclear weapon, Tsar Bomba, estimated to be at least a 50 megaton atmospheric blast. The range of this bomb was massive, and just to put it into context, it was 3,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Now both NATO and the Soviet Union were in possession of the world's deadliest nuclear weapons. They were both capable of using these weapons of mass destruction, but an attack on the other would be suicide, as these weapons were enough to wipe out both sides. It was a danger everyone was aware of, and as a result, a non-proliferation treaty was signed in 1968. Many non-nuclear nations agreed to never acquire nuclear weapons, while the nations in possession of nuclear weapons, including the US, the UK, and the Soviet Union, agreed to disarm in time. Over the next few decades, NATO was gaining in strength, whereas the Soviet Union was struggling to hold on to Eastern Europe. Political and economic instability was escalating, and everyday life was not a socialist utopia. During the 1970s and 1980s, the Soviets were one of the top oil and gas producers, but as the price of oil started to decrease, the country was left to struggle with an economic burden. Even as the economy got worse, military spending continued due to the Cold War and the war in Afghanistan. The world was advancing in research and development, but the Soviets were making little progress. Rallies were being held in Soviet-ruled Eastern Europe. The revolutions of 1989 in Poland, Hungary, East Germany, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, and Romania gained momentum. Following weeks of civil unrest, the East German government gave in. On November 9, 1989, citizens of East Germany were allowed to visit West Germany, and in the joy of reunification, crowds climbed over the Berlin Wall and started to bring it down. With countries declaring independence from the Soviet Union, the Warsaw Pact started to disintegrate, and on December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, was there really a need for NATO? After all, Hastings Lionel Ismay, the first Secretary General of NATO, had once said the purpose of NATO was to keep the Soviet Union out, the Americans in, and the Germans down. But NATO didn't disintegrate. Instead, it took on a new role. It saw itself as a source of peace and security and decided to expand its missions globally. As instability was slowly gripping Europe again, NATO found an opening and took on a peacekeeping role in Bosnia and Herzegovina. A few years later, it did the same in Kosovo too. Critics questioned their involvement and success while NATO was trying to justify the reason for its existence. The early 2000s were a chance for NATO to expand beyond its borders. In 2001, specifically after 9/11, NATO invoked Article 5 for the first time, the same article that considers an attack on an ally as an attack on all members. It launched its biggest ever combat operation in Afghanistan with the aim to stabilize the region, train Afghan forces, and make sure the war-torn country won't be a safe haven for terrorists ever again. It has been 17 years since the war in Afghanistan started, and the US and NATO are still there. So are the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. It also had many missions in Africa, South Asia, and the Mediterranean Sea. But things started to change in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. Some say Russia was provoked by NATO, while others say it was pure Russian aggression. This was a wake-up call for NATO, and it started to take extra measures in the Baltics. So, is NATO still around because the Soviets might come back? Or is it trying to protect its members from aggressive nationalism?
Why do you think it's back? Honest.
Well, I think, it's an institution, and
Yep.
institutions have a life of their own. There was a lot of money invested in NATO, and I think I have never been to any kind of NATO affiliated like meeting or anything like that. I really don't know anything about it,
No.
other than just like the most basic stuff. But
Yeah.
my understanding, I mean, I'm sure the war, the defense corporations probably have a lot of say in it.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, some people say, and I don't know, I don't have a way of um, of determining whether or not this is true, but some people say it's really just kind of a war manufacturing or war marketing, or war equipment
Yeah.
marketing agency. And
Yep.
I mean, that would make sense. I could see how that can happen.
Now, have you heard about the BRICS? Have you heard of that whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think about that? What do you think that that's going to be a good competitive superpower to NATO? Do you think that that's going to cause like a division of the world, of separating into, two globalist economies? Do you think that BRICS is actually going to end up overtopping NATO as the most powerful united countries in the world? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I can't really say for sure what I mean, I don't really know what's going to happen, but it seems to me that the BRICS is a good thing because the US has just really, I think, abused its power. And so I think the world is going to be better off with a more multipolar kind of world. um so I hope that things, I mean, I would like to see something change. And to me it seems like the BRICS, I can understand why they'd want to do it.
Yeah.
And and I think the US has really just abused its power in so many ways. So as an American, I don't really
I think if BRICS becomes the new superpower of the world, I think it's going to be very interesting to see the cultural changes that could possibly happen, because we've been so extreme capitalist with all these NATO countries for so long. It's going to be really interesting to see like a capitalist formation of different countries, but with communism and socialism mixed in with it as well, because a lot of the BRICS leaders are either communist or socialist. So I think that they're going to bring that into the aspect as well of capitalism, because I know that they're never going to give up full on capitalism. It's profitable. It makes people money. It's definitely, even though how bad it is, the idea, the theory of capitalism at least is positive in some aspects of making individuals' lives a little bit better than, let's say, the 1600s, So I can see where that is, where the plus side is on that. But I also would love to see how, at least at some point in history, since it's not happened in history, some point in our future, to where we can see for our own eyes how well capitalism mixed in with socialism and communism could work in a globalist system. I think that's where my excitedness comes from, and hope that BRICS could possibly win, not just to see the failure of NATO and seeing the downfall of America, because that's just bound to happen. Rome fell, the Ottoman Empire fell. Big systems like this are bound to fail eventually, and the next one's going to come back up. I can't wait to see how that's going to show itself.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
Probably not in our lifetime, but
keep in mind that the world we're living in now is not the same world that we were living in, for the first like 40, 50 years after World War II. And what happened was we really actually had that. We had a mixture of these. What happened was there were other things going on. In terms of economics, there was a lot of complexity with the role of economics in all this. But what happened was in the Western nations, it became pretty obvious, and especially in the U.S. We had FDR was still our president through most of World War II. He died just before the end of World War II, but he had actually put in place a lot of policies that were going to continue after World War II. And one of the things that happened after World War II was there was a meeting at Bretton Woods. And that was a meeting where they basically determined what the international, I guess you'd say the world order was going to actually look like. And one of the things that they saw was we just lived through the Great Depression. We'd been through the 20s, World War I, the 20s, the Great Depression, and then World War II. And we saw how capitalism run amok had a big effect on creating this situation. And so Bretton Woods created a world that really was kind of a mix. And we had that too. In fact, when I was a kid, when I was growing up in the 60s and I was learning about the economy of the US, I was told it was a mixed economy. And it was because there was a lot more government involvement in the economy. There was a lot more regulations on just so many things like monopolies, huh?
Yeah, on everything.
Yeah. And so we really did have a mixed system. And that's kind of part of what I've been trying to convey to people like you. I grew up in a great time. I mean, I'm not saying we should go back to the 60s and the 70s, but what I am saying is that we should recognize that the government can work with the private sector in a constructive way. The government can, have some, be able to manage the corporate sector to some degree, and can, take the interests of the people to heart. And in fact, we actually did that, and it made a very successful system. Now, of course, the United States, one of the things that began to break down for multiple reasons, and with MMT, we've talked about the monetary aspect of it. But part of what was going on in the 70s was Germany and Japan and many these countries that had been basically devastated by World War II, they had rebuilt, and we encouraged them to rebuild an economy that was export driven. And so what happened was when they did do it, then they actually became our competitors. And so that was sort of part of what was going on in the 1970s, and part of what the difficulties with the economy was. It wasn't just like monetary issues. It wasn't just energy. The world was changing, and we really hadn't. I would say that our corporate culture really didn't want to face up to that, that there were changes that needed to happen. And so for, a couple of decades, the U.S. Corporate structure just kind of allowed all, I'm sorry.
Unfettered capitalism run amok.
Yeah. So what happened was, we implemented changes, but we implemented a lot of the wrong changes.
Now,
because
do you think that they were doing that because that's how the system was done, or do you think that all the things that FDR was putting into place, and when he passed, it scared them so much that they're smart enough to hire people to find loopholes in these, and were able to just kind of make it toothless, those laws completely toothless because of loopholes?
they started to do that in the 40s. They did start to do it, but it really didn't kick in until the 70s. Because because one of the things
When we got an
happened,
actor as a president, right?
huh? Yeah. Well, actually, no. Reagan didn't come in until 1981.
Okay.
Yeah. But what was happening was we had Vietnam, and in during the Vietnam War, we were actually seeing people, our soldiers, being shot up. At night on the news, they would show, soldiers body bags and things like that. So we were, the communications industry, the media was actually reporting on the war. And that was a big part of the problem because, young people were watching this. Everybody was watching it. And so young people didn't want to go. And over time, their parents, were seeing all this violence and stuff. They didn't want them to go. And then of course we had the civil rights issues going on. We had the women's movement, the gay rights movement started to come about. And then we had Ralph Nader, who, he wrote this book, Unsafe at Any Speed, about the Corvair. And he became hugely influential in this country. We don't know, we can't understand how influential he was, because after the year 2000, when he ran for president, since then he's been really sidelined publicly.
Yeah.
But American corporations were really afraid of Ralph Nader. And he was the Powell memo. That was really about Ralph Nader. A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it was about Ralph Nader, and a lot of it was about concern about young people voicing discontent about economic issues as well, and so they just decided. So what happened was a lot of the wealthy people decided they needed to fight back. And so that's when we had the Powell Amendment. We had the destruction of antitrust regulations, and we had a lot of division within the country. I mean, the Vietnam War created a lot of division, but I would say that then it was really abused by people at the top to create even more division. And then when Reagan came in, he allowed what happened was foreign entities weren't allowed to own American media companies. Reagan came in and he changed that and allowed Rupert Murdoch to come in. And then we had the creation of Fox News. And so
where's Rupert Murdoch from?
He's from Australia.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Fox News, Australia definitely fits.
Yeah. But he had already made a big, he was big in Australia. He was also big in England. He had already gone in and made a major dent in the British media by the time he came here. So anyway, yeah. So what happened was then, of course, about the monetary stuff, that it was seen as a breakdown of the Keynesian tradition of managing, and the Keynesian economics was a blend of corporate and, blend of the private sector and the public sector. And the intent was to use the public sector to manage the private sector. So what happened was all these other things just kind of combined together and made it very easy for the right wing free market economists to state their case openly, and on top of it, they were actually financed by the wealthy. So Milton Friedman had a show on public television in the 70s called Free to Choose. It was paid for by wealthy people. And then a book came out of it. And so a lot of people now, if you ask them, well, like even economists to this, I know people who will say, what got them into economics? Free to choose. And so the mentality just took over the economics profession and ultimately took over our societal thinking. We talk differently than we used to. We think differently than we used to. We really have become like economic agents in a much broader sense than we used to be. There's a movie called FM, and if you ever get a chance, watch it. It's kind of a funny. It's just a cute, humorous movie, but it's about a radio station in the late 70s, I think, being taken over. And they were going to like change the format or something like that. So these people, and it's just a small radio station. So the people that work at the radio station, they're protesting and stuff like that. And there's all this talk about being anti-profit and things like that. But it's just kind of funny. If you listen to that, if you watch that show, you'll see what the mentality was really more like. So when I was a kid, this was the way people were kind of brought up thinking, and then it all changed. So
wow, it's Freedom Friday. Twitter's okay. That's go start in the comments section talking about Twitter's on autopilot today. Oh wow.
Well, let me say one other thing about World War I.
Sure.
Which made it really different, and it is Uncle Milty. Yeah, actually. Oh yeah, I was in college when he was, and he had an article. You know what? He had a article series on, and either I can't remember if it was Time or Newsweek, but he had, so like every week or maybe once a month or something, he had an opinion piece that he had in this magazine, and I remember reading one time when he was talking, and this was in the late 70s, it was before Reagan, but when Reagan came in, he made Milton Friedman his top economic advisor. So this article that was written in the 70s before Reagan, Milton Friedman was talking about how the middle class is subsidized and it shouldn't be subsidized. At that point in time, national parks, you didn't have to pay anything to get into national parks. And that was one of the things he said. Why are people allowed to get into national parks for free? And so I was reading this article, and it like dawned on me, hey, this guy is saying the middle class needs to go down the tubes.
Right.
And and that made me realize this guy is really nuts. And then he came into power. Yeah. So anyway, but back to World War I. One of the things that happened with World War I is that when, it was just this horrific war that caused destruction, so much destruction, and not just destruction of property and lives, it also destroyed a lot of wealth. And so what happened was, part of the reason why the U.S. came into the war was because we had actually lent like our banks had lent them a lot of money, lent the Allies a lot of money. And so there was a concern that if the Germans won, or if the Entente won, that these banks wouldn't get paid back. And so that was part of the reason why we went in. It wasn't the only reason, but that was part of the reason why we went in. So, so when the war ended, what had happened was we had lent all this money to France and England and other countries, and they owed us tons and tons of money, but their economies have been really devastated by this 4 years of this horrible war. And so part of the Paris Treaty talks was about, paying the money back and paying restitution and things like that. In the 19th century in Europe, apparently they had, when there were wars, and you were like, if another country, say for instance, lent money to a country that was at war, and especially if they ultimately became allies with them, at the end of the war, I guess it was a kind of a tradition that they didn't pay back loans that were made from their allies. It was just sort of a gentleman's kind of agreement that they had. So France and England were very surprised when Wilson, during the discussion of the Treaty of Paris, said, "Oh, and by the way, you're going to have to pay us back." And so that was part of the reason why the Germans had such horrible reparations terms, was because France and England had to pay us back. So what really happened was, and actually there was a lot of discussion about this, because there was a concern, and it was true. What happened was we were kind of funding France and England, like lending them money for imports and stuff like that. And then, we were helping Germany. That's what it was. And then they would like use money to pay France and England, and then France and England would pay us back. So it was like a certain amount of recycling the money. Ultimately, it all came back to us. And so, we ended up, we were a wealthy country before the war, but we became an extremely wealthy country after the war. And then it even got worse after World War II. So basically we had all the gold. We had the only economy that was an industrial country that was still, hadn't been damaged, and still had strong productivity and things like that. So World War I was the start of the U.S. becoming the hegemon. And in fact, there was a void between World War I and World War II, because the U.S. actually kind of tried not to take on that role at first. Wilson was a progressive, and he was an activist. So what happened was, when World War I came about, he was really involved in it, was really committed to it, really believed in the League of Nations, and really trying to, have the U.S. be a world leader in helping to establish the peace. But what happened was, the way he did it offended a lot of the Republicans. When he came back from the Treaty of Paris, from Paris, he had had a stroke. He became really kind of incompetent. His wife basically was acting as president. And so what happened was, he was really weakened. And so when it came time to vote on the League of Nations, the Republicans were in charge of Congress, and they voted against it. And so that was the end of the League of Nations with respect to the United States. So there was a desire to, come back and become state isolationist, which continued through the 30s. But then we got pulled into World War II.
Yep.
And so basically, one could probably make the case that part of the reason why World War II came about was because we weren't involved in the world and, trying to help manage things, not actively. However, I'm not a historian, so.
Right. We're just going off of our memory. So based on what you saw this week, this can be your final question. I don't want to have to keep you too much longer. You've been here over an hour already. Based on what you've seen this week and based on what you've known from the past 2 wars, do you see a lot of similarities in the bigger picture of things?
Yeah, what it is we're in a way it's kind of different, because what we're trying to do now is we're trying to hold on. We're trying to hold on. And in a way that makes us more dangerous. And so that's what's kind of scary. And then on top of it, we really have become so ill-informed. I mean, people used to, back in the 60s and the 70s, Walter Cronkite was still around. He was a journalist. That guy was actually a journalist. The people who, had when you turn on the nightly news, those people are just talking heads. They're not journalists. They're people who can read a teleprompter. That's what they are. And that's what we have for news. And so to me, this is actually a scarier time in a lot of ways, because I see the desperation of the US to try to maintain some kind of hegemony, and which we shouldn't have to begin with. And so I find it a really scary time. And on top of the fact that so many people are so misinformed, but just don't acknowledge it, or don't want to see it. And then our tendency to see Russia as the other, as we always have. Yeah. I think it's a scary time. I do.
Yeah. What do you think about us still having, it still feels like the Red Scare is still around, even it's 30, 40 years later?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's really depressing. It's really, really depressing. Because, I know a lot of the friends that I knew when I was young, they just so easily bought into this stuff. And it really shocked me. It still shocks me. I think probably part of the reason why, to me, part of the reason to me, I have a tendency to not see Russia as this enemy, because when I was, this was a really a defining moment in my life. I was in graduate school. I just had gotten to graduate school. It was 1981. Classes hadn't even started. But, I was getting to know some of the other students in the graduate dorm. They were pretty much all from other countries. And so for me, this was my first exposure to the international, to the world, really. Mm-hmm. And so this was 1981. So Reagan was in office. And he was really, starting to use a lot of warmongering terminology and stuff like that. So we had a discussion. We were just, it was just like a party, and we were just talking. And so there were some European students who were talking about the Soviet Union, and they made a comment about that they were afraid that the Cold War would end and that the US would be the only superpower. And I said, in my innocence and stupidity, I said, but we're the good guys.
Oh, no.
What an idiot. And it was then I realized,
the naivety of youth.
Yeah. We are, and this is the stuff we've been told but there's a different perspective, and it doesn't even have to be the perspective of the Russians, just the perspective of the Europeans. Think about that. They were caught between these two world powers that both had nuclear weapons that could have easily been destroyed like any time. So imagine what it must have been like living for those people,
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end, the Cold War did come to an end finally. But what we have done is we have just really abused the authority and the power that we were granted. And I just think it's just so sad, because we should have done a lot better than we did. We've always been taught that this is some great country, a great experiment in democracy and all this stuff. We had a chance, I think, to show what we could be made of, and we completely messed it all up. And a lot of it was really, I think you can probably blame at least somewhat the neoliberalism, that has taken control in economics, but it's also really just infested our minds. And so
well, that's what doesn't make sense to me is like part of the younger, like the millennial generation. And I know that there's a lot of Gen Zs that think the same way as me, is that with this whole Red Scare being back again, it's completely confusing to us, because we've read the Cold War. We knew about the Reds. Like, we know there was a Red Scare, before our time, there was one. And it's so hard to see how prevalent it is with the minds of people when a lot of the younger generations in this country don't have that fear whatsoever, but it's so strong in the minds of Americans. And it's like, well, how is that possible? Is it like, is there that many more older generations than it is younger generations, and they're the louder ones compared to the younger ones? Because none of us, like, I mean, even in my own, like, anecdotal evidence, I've worked with Russians. Most of my entire 20s was working with Russians. Russians owned the bars that I worked at. So I never really understood the fear of Russian guys. It all Russian to me, when I stereotype these Russian men that I know, they just remind me of like angry gun-toting American conservatives. They're literally the exact same breed to me. When I see like Russian men and American men, it feels like that same breed. So I just don't understand where, these older generation conservatives are so dug into that Red Scare when they're so much alike. Like, the only thing that's blocking you American men and you Russian men from getting along is like the language barrier, because everything else is in common. It's absolutely nuts to me. And to be scared of something that you're so familiar with.
Yeah. And Russia isn't even communist anymore.
No, they're super capitalist now, for sure.
Yeah. So it's just ridiculous.
It makes no sense.
We're all the same. We are just all the same people. And, and we're all in this together. It's the leaders that divide us. And it isn't, I don't think it's even so much economic systems are part of it, but I don't think it's really so much necessarily economics. It's just power and greed, and capitalism is convenient because it really enables that to flourish, but it's not the only thing. And much of the greed is from people in power who get money from being invested in weapons manufacturing and stuff like that. I mean, money doesn't care where money comes from or where it goes. Money just wants to reproduce itself. And it's the people at the top with the money, that are really, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to reproduce the money. And so if they have to destroy a culture, they'll do it. If they have to destroy a whole nation like Ukraine, they'll do it. And, you know,
they're willing to do it here in America too. Like when you just said destroying our culture, like our culture of wanting quote unquote freedom in America. Just last night, I know it's starting, like they're starting with the manipulation words and commercials now to get people to give up certain freedoms for certain things. Last night I was watching a show on Hulu and the commercial came on, and it was like this woman starting her business and finding things on the internet that is similar to what she wants, and then like just showing like different scenarios of these people looking online to find what they want and how easily accessible it is to find what they're looking for. And I'm like, oh, this is a really interesting ad. And then at the very end, it's all, please start being okay with directed ads. I'm like, do you guys not realize what they're doing with these directed ads? Like everything that we're afraid of wanting to take our information, of being able to know what we're doing, to the point where they're eventually going to know what we're thinking at all times. I've even noticed that things that I don't even say out loud anymore, things that I just think, are coming up as ads now. And now they're putting up commercials where they're like, be okay with this. Like, are you guys, like, this country is just like really falling down. People are like, ever since 9/11, people are willing to give up their personal freedoms for some sort of non-existent benefit in America that they think they're benefiting from. And it's just absolutely wild to me. How people are just falling for it.
And this gets back to what we were talking about terrorism as an enemy.
Yeah.
You know, because terrorism is something you can't really define or, narrow down specifically. You can people at the, people at the top can just call it whatever they want, and so this is all just part of this mind control stuff. And, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy.
Put on that tinfoil hat, girl. Do it.
But look, we have a whole. Actually, one of the things actually that's really important about World War I is because World War I was one of the first times, at least in this country, where we really started using propaganda intentionally. There's a great series on the internet. It was done by Adam Curtis, a British filmmaker, and it's called. Oh, now I can't remember the name of it. Okay, I'll get it in a minute. But this series talks about the series is about propaganda and public relations. And what happened was Woodrow Wilson was a progressive. In 1912, there wasn't a war. He got elected. In 1916, there was a war in Europe. We were not part of it. And one of his campaign pledges, or one of his campaign, sayings was, he kept us out of the war.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Yep. So then he gets reelected late 1916. 1917, we go to war.
Yep.
How did it happen? Well, it came about because Wilson created this intense propaganda campaign. Now, part of it was war bonds, but also it was like this hatred of the Hun, which was the word for Germany. Germans. They actually renamed towns. Like there's a town, a little town near where the town I grew up in, that had originally been called, I think it was Kaiser. And so they renamed it to Quentin, which was the name of one of Teddy Roosevelt's sons.
Okay.
So they were renaming towns and streets and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
But also what happened was Wilson pushed the idea of there should not be any talk against the war. And he hired a guy named Edward Bernays. And Edward Bernays was the nephew of Freud. He was the nephew of Freud. And so Bernays knew of the work that Freud was doing. Bernays lived in the US, but Freud was in Austria. Bernays was aware of the work that his uncle was doing. And he was actually using it and creating a new profession or new field called public relations. But at that time, it was just called propaganda. They changed the name of the profession because of the distaste of the word propaganda that came about.
So now it's just PR.
Yeah, now it's just PR. So anyway, so Eddie Bernays, his job was to create a program that in the U.S. government that was basically propaganda on behalf of the war. So that's when we started hearing, well, not we, but that's when they started putting out, like Irving Berlin started writing a bunch of songs, how they keep them down on the farm, and how I hate to get up in the morning, and things like that. And there was all this push, and like movie stars were recruited to sell war bonds and stuff like that. But one of the other things that happened during this time frame was they created something called Palmer raids. Have you ever heard of what Palmer raids were?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, what it was is basically they passed a law that is it was a law that they brought back after 9/11, and it was basically I can't think of the word, but it was basically, don't talk bad about the U.S. government kind of thing. And so as part of that, what they did was they created this office that was headed by a guy named Palmer. And this office, basically, they started raiding. They started raiding offices of people that were raiding offices and groups of people that were progressives and were like labor union activists and stuff like that. So this is why Emma Goldman ended up getting deported through these Palmer raids, and a bunch of other people. Big Bill Haywood got deported, and he was a Native American. I mean, he was born in America, so he was a citizen of this country, but he still got deported. So they deported a bunch of labor activists and communist sympathizers and things like that. And so it was basically a purge of liberal people that happened in the late 19 teens and into the 20s. And so there was a real war against like labor unions and anarchists and things like that. And so what happened was people became, after World War I, people, I think, were a lot more leery about foreigners and stuff. And actually, World War I had put an end to the progressive era. Wilson had actually been a progressive, but when he took on this, he was like a missionary kind of person. And when he took on World War I, he took it on with zeal and completely abandoned the progressive cause and really went and was the opposite of it.
Yeah.
And so what happened was it was out of this Palmer Commission that the FBI arose, because J. Edgar Hoover worked for this Palmer guy. And so it was World War One ultimately led to the the start of the FBI, and the career of J. Edgar Hoover. It just led to many different things.
Yep.
So it was amazing. So
yeah, it just sounds like that's pretty much for the last 100 years, America has been slowly, like they're all, well, they're getting smarter. We're about to be technologically advanced. We got to find a way to put our thumb down on them since we can't make them work 80 hours a week for slave pay.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just a different whole aspect of it. Okay. Well, thank you.
Now I want to Google the name of this this documentary. Really,
Okay.
Adam Curtis has a whole bunch of different things, but and all of it is very interesting. He has a really unique style, but this one is really, really important. Of course, now I can't.
Are you still not on any social medias yet?
Huh? No, yeah, I'm not. It's called The Century of the Self. The Century of the Self. And it is really kind of like a history of propaganda. And so it's an excellent series. It's a 4-part series. So
where can you find that
at? You can find it on YouTube.
Oh,
yeah, just Google. That's how I watched it, and I'm sure it's still on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down. Actually,
yeah.
So you said Century of the Self.
The Century of the Self. Yeah.
Century of the Self. All right, I'm definitely gonna be watching that today.
Yeah, it's really great. Adam Curtis. He's done a lot of really interesting things. He has, like I said, he has his own unique style. Not everybody appreciates it, but it's interesting, and he makes really interesting points. So I highly recommend that that people watch that. So
yeah, definitely gonna check that out today. Watch it later on today. Thank you for stopping by.
I'm sorry for talking your ear off.
No, I love it. Come on now, it's my favorite.
But yeah, I like talking about World War One because it really helps you understand what happened in the rest of the 20th century. Because really pretty much everything came out of what happened during World War One, including the rise of the Soviet Union, because it was, because the Tsar was in charge of the war in World War One after a certain point, and the war just went terribly for the Russian people, and that was part of the reason why he was overthrown. So, yeah. So, anyway, okay.
Thank you for coming by. And you're still not on any social media sites, though.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I guess I should go. I guess I should maybe go back on Facebook or Twitter or something. So
just so people can let you know, like, I want to talk about this, or have them follow you because you're so smart and people need to know who you are and what you have to say. So
actually, I like Instagram. I wouldn't mind going back on Instagram.
Okay. Well, you guys keep an eye out for Sherry on Instagram. She's going to be there soon.
Yeah. Do people use Instagram still?
Yeah, absolutely.
Old people like me.
I think they're using Instagram even more than other sites nowadays. So especially the younger generation, they love them from Instagram.
It's fun because there's, a lot of pictures and the short videos and stuff like that. It doesn't seem to be quite as intense.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the one thing I can't stand, like, about Twitter, and why I haven't 100% dived deep into Twitter yet, is just because there's so much reading. I'm just like, way too much. Like, you can take in 50 different stories within a matter of 10 minutes, and it's nuts. It's too much. It's way too much. Like, I'm a TikTok person. I can watch like 10 to 60 seconds worth and then go to the next one. But when I'm reading, 20 articles in a 10-minute period, that's too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Give me about 1 minute to process things, and then I can be on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. I get that. So take care, Jimmy.
All right. Yes. Thank you. Oh,
Have
Les
a
Bone says to get onto TikTok, Sherry.
Okay. All right. Well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes,
And
you too.
so I'll be back. See you in a couple weeks.
Yes, everybody. She's going to be back next Friday or the Friday after next. So you guys have any questions for her? You guys want her to talk about something kind of like what we did today, where we just talked about World War I and the similarities between what happened this week and the start of World War I, how we got to where we are. All of this today was done only by Sherry. So if you guys have anything that you want her to talk about that you think is interesting, please let us know. We will definitely talk about it. She's a microeconomist. So if you want to know anything about economics in the micro sense, which is like some of my favorite stuff more than macroeconomic, definitely ask any questions about that. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Les Bones. We're gonna get her on TikTok.
Well, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go. Based. That's right. We're gonna get Sherry on the TikTok. Could you imagine? That's gonna be so much fun. I love it. I can't wait. Sherry's awesome. I absolutely love Sherry. She's so smart. Me and her can talk forever about so many different things. It's oh, I love her. I miss her. Every couple of weeks I'm like, I miss you. Come back. We need more stuff. All right, so I got about 45 minutes left, and I wanted to talk about the last couple of things that I had at least on my list. I kind of want to sit here and make fun of Elon for a little while. So see how Elon Musk is responding to mass Twitter employee resignations. I don't care. Okay, let's up. Are you coming back with the boxes again? Oh, gotta love the boxes. Thanks, YouTube, for the boxes. Okay, so I found Yahoo Finance Live. And this is talking about Elon Musk closing Twitter headquarters following hostile ultimatum. So apparently on Twitter yesterday, he's like, y'all need to go hardcore into Twitter or else you're getting 30-day severance pay, motherfuckers. So this motherfucker's like about to make seems like he's going to make some changes on Twitter. I have no idea what it's Box City. I have no idea what the fuck is going on or what's going to happen with Twitter or what Elon plans on doing, but it's kind of funny to see just, what's happening over there in the fall of it and how everybody's treating Elon and how Elon's treating everyone. So let's watch this. Elon Musk closes Twitter headquarters following hostile ultimatum.
But first, let's talk about Elon Musk's Twitter takeover, hitting a new bump in the road as the social media giant temporarily closes its offices after a wave of employees parted ways with Twitter. That came after Musk's ultimatum to commit to working, in his words, in an extremely hardcore manner. Or he said employees can just walk. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance's Dan Halley, who's on top of this story. Dan, what is the very latest in terms of this closure and where things stand within the company?
Yeah, so as you pointed out, Musk had this hardcore ultimatum. He had sent a letter out to employees saying that he wanted them to work above and beyond what they were used to, essentially, more or less seemingly upending the culture at Twitter, basically treating it like he does Tesla or SpaceX. And he said that, even high performance will be expected regardless. It means working over 40 hours. It means, working weekends, things along those lines. And so, he wanted people to sign this agreement by 5 p.m. Eastern Thursday. And reportedly, hundreds have refused. And so now there are hundreds of people who have effectively been kicked out of the company, or, he said that that's more or less their resignation, not signing on to that letter. And so now there's questions as to whether or not Twitter can continue to function. This is a platform that regularly has functionality issues. People, comment about how there are problems with the technology and how it constantly needs to be updated or fixed in some way. So, if there is a major malfunction at some point, it might not be able to take care of that. It might not be able to fix that and continue to be a viable product. And so, there are conversations on Twitter about how this is, in its death knell, and, we're seeing the end of Twitter. I think that's overblown. I mean, I have my Twitter feed open right now, and, thousands of people are still posting, no problem, likely millions. And so, it's not as though Twitter is going to go away. Musk might just have to roll back his ultimatum, though, and he might have to swallow his pride. Now, this is something that, he hasn't done or isn't very good at doing. He, isn't great at admitting when he's wrong. This isn't one of his own startups that, he had taken public or, helped take public, as is the case with Tesla, or, put together, as is the case with SpaceX. This is an existing company that's been around for years, with him jumping in now just to kind of get it going. And, it's a much different experience than starting from the beginning, where you had these employees who are already entrenched in the company's culture, and then to come in and say, we're going to rip everything up and start over. And it may be that Musk has to go ahead and say, look, we have to roll that back. We have to kind of smooth this kind of transition to the new Twitter 2.0, as he's calling it, rather than just trying to chop it off and start right away. But for now, it seems as though he's going to be without a number of employees just after he laid off roughly half the company.
Poor guy. Sounds like he's dealing with some stuff. Let's check out Twitter and see let's see what's happening over here. Checking the Twitter shutdown. There it is. I love Twitter sometimes. With this sync. Oh, this is good. This is a good one. Oh, I'll leave it to the trolls to piss off Twitter. Twitter loses 90% of their employees and still functioning. This guy's obviously a libertarian. This guy's picking his nose. That's gross. And this guy, Jesus Christ, he's super angry. Could have ended world hunger, but he decided to burn down Twitter instead. Elon could have ended world hunger and poverty. He decided to fuck up Twitter. If a billionaire pissing away $44 billion to impede our ability to communicate, organize, and win elections isn't a reason to tax the shit out of the super wealthy, I don't know what is. Hey, that's a good one. I actually enjoy that one. That was a really good one. Before Twitter goes down, the secret to getting bitches is pretending like you're dying, I guess. Everyone checking Twitter to make sure it's still working. It's time for a hero to rise again. Oh, it's Tom from MySpace. All right. I miss Tom. Does anyone else miss Tom? Because I miss Tom. Tom was great. Honest day's work, a liberal's worst nightmare, Twitter shutdown. Musk triggers liberals with email urging employees to work. Aww. Oh yeah, somebody last night at the Twitter headquarters posted this up as well. It says Elon Musk, bankrupt baby, supreme parasite, petulant pimple, apartheid profiteer, dictators, ass kisser, lawless oligarch, insecure colonizer, cruel hoarder, space Karen, mediocre man-child, pressurized privilege, petty racist, megalomaniac, worthless billionaire, and then back to bankruptcy baby again. Interesting. There's no great love between Twitter employees and Elon Musk. Oh, that's a cool one. I love that video. That video is hilarious. I just want this to be my last post. Van Gogh, typewritten on a 1970s silverette, just like typewriters. Oh, cool. How interesting. Killed by Elon Musk. Space Karen will always be funny. Me refreshing to see if Twitter is still there. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it seems like, it seems like he's just, Elon just, I don't know. It just seems like Twitter is still here. Nothing's really going on. It's still down. Let's see. Kathy Griffin, Jordan Peterson, and Babylon Bee have been reinstated. He said an hour ago, new Twitter policy is, stop, lady, is freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. Negative hate tweets will be max deboosted and demonetized, so no ads or other revenue on Twitter. You won't find the tweets unless you specifically seek it out, which is no different from the rest of the internet. Note, this applies to the individual tweet, not the whole account. So just that tweet. Negative hate tweets are still going to be put down and to the bottom of the list of things you can see on your page. Freedom Fridays, he says, like he cares about FTX. Jesus Christ, what should Twitter do next? Yeah, it just looks like he's still trolling about, not doing too much. Let's see what Elon had to say here.
Of people and machines. That's what a company is. And Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective. This is also true of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these social networks. They're giant cybernetic collectives. I tried to convince people to slow down. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene
listened.
in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are gonna fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody.
The guy that literally invented electric cars is like warning us that we should have slowed down. Come on, bro. You were like the first one to bring out probably one of the oldest blueprints that have been around for a while that you stole from another person. So
No one.
wow.
Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Maybe they will. So far, they haven't.
Have you seen this? Have you seen this before, You act like you've seen this before. You're like weirdo robot alien, and then he turns into a weirdo robot alien. Me to my future kids. Twitter discussion. I want to get a few things off my chest. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City wants to get something off of her chest because of a Twitter shutdown. Come on. Get out of here, lady. Nobody. Oh, you haven't seen it before? Okay. You definitely called it. Like, you called that video right when it's on my side over here. As soon as I saw your thing pop up where it says weirdo robot alien, was right when his face turned into that half robot and like the fire and all that stuff. I was like, damn, dude. Sounds like you saw it. That was good. You're like a psychic. If we spot a pineapple, we riot and spark a Twitter shutdown. How fucking funny. What else is going on with all of that? I guess that's it with the Twitter shutdown. Kathy Griffin obviously is going to be brought back. Right, we don't see what the whole. I would love to see Donald Trump back on Twitter, just so we can get a good laugh. I fucking miss that fool on Twitter. He's hilarious on Twitter. He just says so much random ass bullshit. I think if he comes on Twitter, like if they bring Trump back to Twitter, I think I'm gonna make it my goal to get Trump to block me. I want to see if I can try to do that. Like if I'm gonna be blocked by anybody in this country, I want it to be Trump. That would be hilarious. That would be really, really funny. Held Trump's, yeah, we already know what she did. God, everybody's like showing it. Yeah, people are just mad that Kathy Griffin's back, but not Trump or Alex Jones. Yeah, it just sounds like Twitter is still Twitter. It does not feel like any difference. Just seems like Elon is just trying to make, or just starting a bunch of shit. Just trying to make it look like there's something bigger, getting the people riled up on Twitter so that way they use Twitter more because that's, what you do. You use these websites and the clicks and the views and the watch times is what makes them money over there. So he's definitely promoting it. Lady, I've had you on my lap this whole morning. Why? She is extremely attached to me today. Oh, and I don't know why. And it's driving me crazy. But I love you, even though you're psycho. I love you, psycho. Yeah, I don't see anything else. It looks like Garland. Why is Garland trending on Twitter right now is number 1? Merrick Garland just appointed a war crimes prosecutor at The Hague to investigate. Wait, to investigate Trump. What's going on? Are we bringing back the Trump investigation again? Is this going to be? God damn. 3 new grand juries were being impaneled at U.S. District Court in D.C. a few hours ago. Garland is appointing a special counsel, and 3 new grand juries are stood up on the same day. I'm sure people will still find a way to make it seem like DOJ isn't going to indict Trump, though. Impeach Merrick Garland. Are they trying to force Trump not to be able to run? Occupy Democrats breaking. MAGA melts down after Attorney General Merrick Garland appoints an intimidating special counsel to oversee the criminal investigation into Donald Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene freaks out and calls for Congress to impeach Merrick Garland, which we see here right above it. RT, if you love to see MAGA sweat. I thought the criminal investigation into Trump was pretty much done for. Why is it coming back? Insisting how independent and impartial his pick for special counsel will be. The right doesn't care. They're not going to appease them. Doesn't work. Jack Smith indicted a CIA officer and secured a conviction for mishandling national defense misinformation. Anybody in the audience knows what's going on? Based on recent developments, including the former president announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and he is sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate. Let's watch this.
Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. Such an appointment underscores the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters. It also allows prosecutors and agents to continue their work expeditiously and to make decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law. Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. Such an appointment underscores the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters. It also allows prosecutors and agents to continue their work expeditiously and to make decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law. Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated
It just repeated itself. Sorry, I did not know it was on a loop. Okay, so that makes sense. They're wanting to bring back the investigation so that he can't run for president because he's running for president. That completely makes sense. Okay. I don't want to talk about that. That's boring. Okay. So I got, like I said, I got like 25 more minutes. So I do want to share this. I know it's local. It's in my local area. I don't think the big news coverage or big news people have started covering it. But I thought that this was really interesting because this is something that I've never heard happen. And I've been I like keeping track of it very much a lot. And so in LA, well, in Whittier, it's down in like the LA area. A man, third world America, right? There was a man that was driving, and I guess what happened was these sheriff's department recruits were going on their morning jog, kind of like what the military does in the morning. They just do like their morning jog all in formation. They were heading out of the parking lot area to start going to the side, because what they do is they'll usually do their jog on like the slow lane, because they're in line like 4 or 5 across and then like 7 or 9 deep down. So they try to stay in formation, usually have like a pole flag person at the front. They were on their way to do their morning jog like that together, and a car ran all of them over this morning. So I wanted to show a little video about it and talk about what happened. There is some updates. They just arrested the guy this morning, I believe, or last night, the suspect for it. And so let's check this out really quick.
I'm Eric. I'm glad you are with us here. We are staying on top of breaking news out of Whittier. This is near the Los Angeles area. Authorities saying nearly 24 Los Angeles County Sheriff's recruits were on a training run when they were hit by a vehicle. We can tell you a handful of them were critically injured. This includes Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department recruits. They were part of the academy they're training. Right now, first responders are on the scene. This is a live look at the vehicle that was likely involved in this, that hit nearly 24 sheriff's recruits.
Yeah, you can see the extent of damage to that vehicle. For some reason, this vehicle went up on the sidewalk, as you see right there, hitting these people. So really a terrible incident. It happened just around 6:30 this morning. So the recruits were told were on some sort of training exercise right by that area where they do these training sessions. So it's in Whittier, and it looks like they were on that sidewalk where that vehicle is right now. So we can tell you the driver of that vehicle has been detained. So, of course, now they'll be questioned on why this happened. What was the cause of this? At this point, they've not said what may have caused the crash. We are getting some reports from the Los Angeles Fire Department into our CBS affiliate in Los Angeles about the number of people, as Eric mentioned, about 24. So more than 20 recruits injured in this crash. There are some reports of 5 to 7 patients in critical condition. 4 needed immediate care. So we saw a helicopter earlier As Eric mentioned, they had to close off the 5 for a bit of time to be able to transport these people to area hospitals quickly. 10, we believe, have minor injuries. That's, again, according to Los Angeles County Fire Department.
Yeah, the driver that struck those recruits, according to the sheriff's department there, was detained and is being questioned, and this is all pending further investigation as to what led up to all of this. We'll keep you posted here on CBS8.com as well as our CBS8 app.
There's one of them, and so a little bit of more of an update.
New details on the driver of that car. Sheriff's deputies at a home tonight in Diamond Bar to gather information. That's where Susan Hirasuna is live with more. Susan.
Yeah, just before 6 o'clock, deputies rolled up on this home in Diamond Bar. Now, photographer Joab Harris was told that he was allowed to shoot what happened next, but he was asked to turn off his camera light and hide behind the vehicle. Clearly, deputies were going to prepare for anything that should happen once they bang on the front door. A phalanx of sheriff's deputies approached this home in Diamond Bar.
Sheriff's Department.
One deputy holds a portable battering ram.
Residents of 10, 5, 9, Diamond Bar. Come on out.
With a rifle in a ready position, the door opens. 2 women are ordered out and ushered away from the house. Shortly thereafter, the light goes on in an upstairs bedroom. Another deputy approaches the home with her gun drawn, looking in with caution before entering. During the Fox 11 special report, Sheriff Alex Villanueva explained the police action as a joint effort with the CHP and DA's office.
You don't get no meat. That's why you're more bones. You're like, no, I'm less bones. Give me more meat. I'm done. I'm just gonna see myself out on that one.
All 3 of them are working together, trying to determine whether it was an accident or a deliberate act of some sort or some criminal culpability on this. And that once they determine that, then they'll move forward.
So there, if you guys could see, this was a video of the actual accident. So if you look right here, you'll notice. What, Kelly? Good to see you. Oh, I love you, Kelly. So as you guys can see right here, if you look, man, why is my my pointer not working? Never get to show my pointer. You're not going to let me show the pointer. Okay. So if you look to the left side, like right, oh geez, like right here in between in the net, you'll see a car. And then if you look to the other side of the net, to the right side of the screen, I guess you would say, the far side of the screen over there on the other side, you'll see those recruits. Those are all the recruits that were running, and that is right where the oh, it is going to do my little mouse. Right here, you'll see is the car. And then over here is the recruits. So you'll be able to see the little crash of it really quick. See, this is like some CCTV footage. Camera got it. And just ran through all of them. Let me turn the volume back up so you guys can hear it.
With either an arrest or a release, and then it becomes a civil matter.
That's that guy right there.
Plainclothes detectives, and not long after.
Wrong one. I meant to push pause. So this guy right here is the driver of the vehicle that crashed into them.
And it becomes a civil matter.
Deputies are joined by plainclothes detectives, and not long after, the women are returned to the home. Eventually, a large group of deputies enter the property and directed upstairs to the room presumed to be the driver's. What investigators found and what they were looking for was unclear. No one was talking. Another group went door to door asking for security video. No neighbor wanted to go on camera, but suggested that they wanted to see when the 22-year-old arrived home and when he left early Wednesday. At the scene of the crash, CHP officers conducted field sobriety tests. Ultimately, a toxicology report may help explain why the SUV veered out of the lane and into the recruits.
Any sense on potential drugs or other influence?
Well, they did. They drew blood. They're going to be a full toxicology report, but the initial breathalyzer was 0.0. They did field sobriety tests, and those he passed as well.
The neighbors that we talked to said that the residents of that home, they're a very fine family and that they've had long-term relationships and really said that they are tremendous. Now, the 22-year-old is apparently a triplet with two sisters. And whether or not this becomes a criminal case or a civil case, that might be determined by those toxicology reports. I can also tell you that at no time did we see any of the deputies or investigators leave with any evidence bags or anything like that. Reporting live in Diamond Bar, I'm Susan Hirsuna, Fox 11 News.
Yeah, it sounds like they just sent that guy home because they probably thought it was they probably thought it was an accident, and now they've arrested him, probably finding out that it's not an accident. Like this one right here, Fox has been saying that it was intentional.
A stunning turn of events in this investigation, with the wrong way driver now turned into the prime suspect. He is under arrest, being held in jail tonight. His bail denied, with the LA County Sheriff himself saying the carnage in Whittier was intentional. Listen to the sheriff.
And he's now in our custody, awaiting arraignment, and the investigation is still ongoing.
The stunning new development in the continuing investigation coming from the LA County Sheriff himself, confirming Wednesday's horrific scene here in Whittier is no accident, but instead a deliberate act.
Residents of 10, 5, 9, 11 bar. Come on out.
That as we're learning more about the investigation, as deputies armed and ready, even carrying a battering ram, search the Diamond Bar home of the man at the center of that investigation, 22-year-old Nicholas Joseph Gutierrez. The wrong way driver, he's now under arrest, charged with the attempted murder of a peace officer.
Well, they did a very thorough investigation. They interviewed dozens and dozens of witnesses and victims, and that was a conclusion arrived based on the evidence and the testimony that they have to date.
That after Gutierrez's SUV slams into a group of recruits during their morning training run. 25 are hurt, some seriously. Investigators say witnesses report hearing that SUV accelerate up to 30 to 40 miles per hour, veering into the recruits, only stopping when the SUV rammed into a light pole. Ramming that pole with such force, it knocked the pole right over. Even then, a witness says Gutierrez still had his foot on the accelerator. We know Gutierrez passes a field sobriety test, meaning no sign of alcohol, but deputies confirm finding marijuana in his wrecked SUV. Toxicology tests are still pending. As several of the injured are airlifted to medical centers, attention now shifts to the most seriously hurt. 7 recruits are still hospitalized. 2 of those are listed as critical, suffering serious injuries.
The one in at St. Francis is still in critical. That's the one that has the brain injury. The one at UCI is just going to be going through another surgery. And both of them have multiple fractures as well.
And now live, the St. Francis Medical Center. It is here that one of the recruits listed as critical that the sheriff was mentioning. He is being treated here in the ICU. We're told he is on a ventilator, as the sheriff says. He is the recruit who is suffering from a serious head injury and brain injury. Getting back to the developing part of this story, that wrong way driver now under arrest. He is due in court first thing in the morning. He will be arraigned on a charge of attempted murder. For now, we're live here in Linwood. Back to both of you, and West LA we go.
So yeah, he definitely went to county last night and is going to be arraigned today. He's going to be in court today. I wonder if there's anything going on with the court of that. Damn, just pushes buttons for me, huh? This one says he was released from jail. Sunny, Oregon. Good morning, Signs. How are you today? Sunny question mark. It's probably sunny, but it's probably cold as shit out there because that's how it is here. It's like sunny, but it's really cold. We're getting down to like the 30s at nighttime now. I think we got down to like 43 last night. It was cold. Exactly. Only cops' lives mattered, nothing else. Blue lives matter, citizens splatter. Exactly. Like they're making such a big hubbub over this, this thing.
Investigators have on a Diamond Bar man that they arrested for driving his SUV into a group of law enforcement recruits this week.
In a surprising and a bit development, the suspect was released last night. Mario Ramirez is outside that man's home in Diamond Bar. I know, Mario, this is somewhat straightforward based on a law surrounding where the investigation is at this time.
That's right, and the sheriff's department calls this a provisional release while investigators continue to build their case, and they now believe that this 22-year-old driver intentionally hit dozens of recruits early Wednesday morning, 7 of them still hospitalized, 2 with critical injuries. And take a look, you can see him here taking a field sobriety test at that crash site in Whittier, which showed no signs that he was under the influence. Nicholas Gutierrez was released just before 10 o'clock last night after being taken into custody Wednesday morning. He was reportedly driving his Honda CRV on the wrong side of the road in Whittier Wednesday when
no, we're box crew today. I'm like seriously about to open up YouTube on my phone just so I can see the emotes that you guys are using, because this isn't fair. Okay, it's just not fair. I can't see it. They're just boxes. It's all they are, just boxes. I see it. It's a dinosaur screaming. Where did you get those? Oh, they're new. I see. Oh my God, you guys. There's so many new emotes. Look at all of them. That sucks. What's wrong with StreamYard? Why StreamYard won't show it? Oh, they're new global emotes. Okay. Yeah, they've been doing some updating on YouTube. If you guys, I'm going to plug him in really quick, even though he's like huge and he doesn't even know I exist. But there's a guy on YouTube named Nick Nimmin. And I usually watch his videos throughout the week because he always gives up new updates. He helps YouTubers and help YouTubers grow, like giving them advice and things like that. And he's really good about giving you all the information about YouTube. So, yeah, exactly. StreamYard probably needs an update for sure. So, yeah, it looks like this guy did it intentionally. like Yona was saying, police getting hit by the feds. It sounds like this guy did it intentionally as if he was like, trying to hurt him. It sounded like from what they were saying, he sped up when he was getting to them. And when he hit the pole, his foot was still on the gas. So yeah, shit's crazy. I'll finish watching. It's only a minute.
75 cadets for their morning run. 25 of those recruits were injured in the crash, with injuries ranging from head trauma and broken bones to loss of limbs. Sheriff's deputies later searching the home of that 22-year-old driver charged with attempted murder of peace officers, but were seen leaving with no bags or boxes in hand. Meanwhile, Sheriff Villanueva, he previously said this crash was an accident, but he now believes that after more evidence was collected, it was an intentional, deliberate act.
Well, they did a very thorough investigation. They interviewed dozens and dozens of witnesses and victims, and that was a conclusion they arrived based on the evidence and the testimony that they have to date.
Investigators are not legally allowed to hold a suspect in custody for more than 48 hours without presenting the case to prosecutors. And Sheriff Villanueva says the suspect was only released until investigators can develop more evidence and present a stronger case for prosecutors. So they continue to conduct ongoing interviews and analyze some of the evidence, including surveillance footage. Back out here live, we expect that case to be presented.
I'm done. Okay, I'm done talking. Kelly just killed me right now. I shouldn't be laughing. I'm going to hell. That's okay. As long as there's a pretty basket that I can ride on it in, I'm good. Send me to hell. That's where the party is. So yeah, that's all of it. Yeah, signs. I know. I'm like absolutely still in shock. I'm like trying trying not to think about it because I'm still in shock about it. It's so funny because I took yesterday off. I didn't do a show yesterday because I had really bad cramps. So I'm like, I'm just going to take today off and enjoy today. And then we get over, like, we hit our 1,000 subscriber mark. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, I wasn't doing anything today. What's going on? I honestly, I'm only assuming and guesstimating from what I've seen myself. I honestly truly think it's Willie Bragg's. I think he really like just went full force with us. I saw his Twitter message this morning about asking people to subscribe to us. So I definitely have to give Willie Braggs a huge shout out for doing that for us. I honestly think that it was, at least in my own head, I think it was all him that helped us reach that goal yesterday and then surpass it even too. I'm, like I said, still absolutely in shock. So I know we keep going up into, wait, we're at 1050 now. We just went up another 10. Holy crap. We were at like 1,030 something, and now we're at 1,050 something. So we've just gained 20 more subscribers. What is going on right now? I'm getting sweaty. I'm starting to get sweaty. Oh, Willie is a legend. Yes, I know. Then I can actually get myself a webcam so I'm not recording on a potato anymore. No more potato cameras. Oh, thanks. Skate Front from yesterday. Thank you for stopping by and showing the support. Oh, you guys go check out Skate Front over on Twitch. Where is it? Right there. If you go check him out on Twitch, give him a follow, subscribe, go watch him, check him out. He's awesome. We started watching him the other day and he was doing some music stuff, which was really cool. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I got 5 more minutes here on the show myself. I am actually about to, I'm going to head over to Twitch right now too and see who else is on that I can raid myself. So you guys get ready because it's probably going to be Nikki. Yep, Nikki's on. Okay, cool. Thank you. Aw, you're like my second raid ever. Oh, you're headed to bed? Okay. Good to see you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good night's sleep. And I hope to see you very soon. I will be joining and watching your show soon. So, all right. Oh, how cool. Thank you so much. Way to go. Yeah, way to go, Willie, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm telling you, he is incredible. I definitely, man, you guys, man, all of you guys are just, wow, absolutely amazing and incredible and supportive. And I've been like in this, political sphere behind the scenes for so long that I always thought like, I'm never going to be able to get enough people to even like a show. You always have like, your own worst critic when it comes to shows and stuff. So I always thought like, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to be, that big of a person over here. I'm just kind of trying to help out KRTD and see what they do. But man, you guys proved me wrong, man. I swear, any kind of like doubt of confidence I had in myself, you guys are just squashing it completely and not only impressing me, but making me emotional, making me feel like, oh my gosh, like you guys are real people out there who could be real friends. It's not just, all this phony progressive, like I got your back, but you say one little thing and like, we're not going to be friends anymore kind of stuff. Like, just the manipulative friend type stuff that can be in the political sphere, in the progressive sphere. So I think, oh man, I think you guys are just absolutely amazing to me. I'm still speechless. I'm still in shock. I'm going to have a good cry today. You're going to join Twitch right now? All right. It gets easier after 10 raids. Okay. Yeah, you're like number 2 for me. So when do we get to do super chat and force the host to read it out loud for our own self-satisfaction and narcissism? I'm thinking by Monday. I've already have the AdSense stuff up on the computer. So all I'm doing is I'm waiting for Shane to get back, to get a hold of me to give me his address, his mailing address, so I can put it in, and then we'll see what the next steps are, because I have no idea what his mailing address is. So I have no idea, but that's the next step on the AdSense. I was trying to do it this morning. So hopefully by Monday, we should have the super chats and everything available. I'll probably spend all weekend trying to figure out how to get all that started up for him over there. All right, Les Bones, good to see you over at the Twitch community. Okay. So tonight, I don't think we have anything going on except for releasing the clips. I'll probably release, I don't think I'm going to release too many today, because most of the time today was spent talking with Sherry for a good long time. So I'll definitely clip that out for its own sectional purpose. Probably clip this news thing out that we just watched about the police officer and stuff. Hopefully I don't get in trouble, because we were talking about bowling with these guys. So yes, absolutely. Not going to forget that. And then tomorrow night, is Warren doing a show tonight? Wondering. He might. So I'm not even going to say he's not. I'll just say he's doing a show tonight. And if he doesn't, he'll post it up later that he's not doing a show tonight. But tonight, don't forget, we got Extra Boya, Uncle Warren. Wow, he is not my uncle. Warren. Sorry, I know you guys all call him Uncle Warren. I just feel like he's more of like my equal than like somebody I like see as an elder of mine. So I can't call him uncle at all. I'm like, me and him are equals. So check out Warren tonight. He's going to be on for his secret show at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. And then tomorrow night at the same time on Saturday, that's when I will be joining Warren. I'm going to permanently just keep it on for Saturdays now when I join, because I feel like being here for 3 hours and then being on Warren's show at nighttime is just a lot of work for me in a single day. So I'd rather split it up between the two and just do it on Saturday nights. So tonight I will be hanging out in the comments section with y'all to chill and watch Warren and see what he has to talk about. And then tomorrow I will be on the show. So if you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, me and Warren usually never plan anything. And I know Kelly wants us to probably talk about dildos and really fun, you know, sex toys and stuff like that. So we'll probably be talking about some weird stuff like we always do. So definitely go check that out. And then tonight also Yona is going to be live. So you guys in the comment section, you guys see Yona's right here on the screen. Type in his name in the search engine, or you can just click on his name in the comment section and go to his channel. Just quickly, super quick. It won't even make you leave this video. Go give him a subscribe and hit that little notification bell. That way you get notified when his videos come up. He is also going to be live tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern, which is 8 p.m. Pacific, an hour before Warren. He's got his podcast coming up. There's the link right there. He just posted it in that. So that is for his show tonight. We're going to be hanging out with him tonight before we head over to Warren's show. I love weekend nights on YouTube. That's when the family hangs out. We got the party going. We got everybody there. So make sure you guys all come and check that out. We're going to have a lot of fun. Is Nikki in my attic? I wish he was in my attic. You know, I want to like build a cage under my bed and then put her in there, and then I can just like go in there and hang out with her, and we can like drink coffee and talk about how shitty the world is. Yes, extra Yona with extra cheese tonight. Absolutely. Yep. See you there, signs at 11. Tell us what else is bollocks. Yeah, exactly, Kelly. Sex swings. We have not discussed the full benefits of. Very, very, very true. I have one. I've just never used it. It's like all these straps are just sitting in this box in my attic. That's what's in my attic. Sex toys. Nikki'd probably enjoy up there too. So see you tonight. Okay, let me head everybody over on Twitch. Let me head you guys over to Raid Nikki. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. All right, Nikki, party of 3 coming to raid. All right, I'll probably be over on Nikki's channel too. All right, I just sent them over. I'll probably be over on Nikki's channel right after this while I edit some stuff and clip up the videos and put them all out. And then I will be playing some Grounded today by myself until my friends come if they do. And then I will see you all tonight in the you can have your new home up in the tree from the wolf spiders. Hey, that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be keeping myself from the wolf spiders while I play Grounded and build myself a tree house. That's what I'm going to do today until tonight. Just have me some fun. So thank you all for stopping by. Yeah, absolutely. Let me get you the link to Nikki's channel really quickly. I will head over there. There's Nikki. Copy. All right. I am putting it in there for you right now. There you go. Thank you, Yona. I hope you guys had some fun today with Sherry. Sherry's really big on giving information. I love learning new things and I love history. So I hope that, the conversation and the topic was really good and she helped us learn a little bit more, comparing old times with the new times. That's kind of my favorite topics to talk about with Sherry is like how things are different then, how things are different now, but then the similarities and the feeling of similarity compared to the past. That's why, because a lot of people don't know the past, that's why we repeat it. And that's why it feels so similar and familiar, is because the people that do read the past, they're like, oh, okay, wait, I know this. So I hope that you guys learned something today from Sherry. She's absolutely intelligent. She's an amazing lady. Go over to hang out with Nikki. I'm going to head over there right now when I get off of that. And thank you so much. I love you all. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. And I will see you all tonight.